Shore Lodge, a high-stakes psychological thriller, the Millersville series, written by Susan Specht Oram, narrated by Robin McAlpine. 36. Jacqueline. Ms. Wright guides me into the day room where a banner hung above the television says, "Congratulations." People are talking. I'm muzzy from the chatter after the silence of the isolation room. I bite my tongue to be sure I'm not dreaming. This is surreal after being shut in a closet. Hit with extremes, sad and happy, dark and light, it's almost too much for me. I'd rather be alone after my ordeal, and I'm not sure why they brought me to the party. Wearing a red flannel shirt, shorts, and hiking boots, I stand out, but I have bigger concerns on my mind, like being strapped down, terrified, and wetting myself. As long as I live, the isolation room will be up there at the top as one of my worst moments. "Join us," one of the gray-haired twin-like women says. The other says, "Welcome." Looking at them, I notice that although they dress alike in cardigans and have long braided gray hair, they're quite different. One has a twinkle in her brown eyes, a hint of a smile, and a lively, mischievous vibe. She holds out her hand and says, "I'm Billy, and this is Margaret, but I call her Grit." As I shake Billy's and Grit's warm hands, my shoulders relax. I'm relieved to be welcomed into their fold after being alone and tied up. There should be an arrow pointing to these two and a sign saying, "Normal people ahead." Grit is a wiry woman whose jaw is set as if she's determined. She takes me aside and whispers, "Get out while you can. Find a way. We couldn't and have made peace. Maybe you can." I appreciate her encouragement, but at the same time, her comments dishearten me. If you couldn't get out, why would I be any different? "It only takes one," she says, looking me in the eyes. I nod, thinking I've always been different. I was lucky enough to do things others couldn't, like raise a family while running a business. Maybe I can. "Do it for us," Grit says, patting my hand. We turn to the others. She and Billy are in blousy, floral-patterned tops and yoga pants with flip-flops. They're wearing purple ribbons in their braids. Grit glances at Billy and says, "We've been together for years, so this is just an official confirmation, an outward manifestation of our internal, long-term commitment to each other." I lift my eyebrows, thinking, that's a lovely way to cut a phrase. Albert would appreciate her remark, but he's not here, making a tear roll down my cheek. I wipe my damp face, not wanting to ruin the wedding. Billy nudges Grit and smiles. "You're using fancy language again. How about coming down to street level? We're finally getting married. Yahoo!" A broad-faced woman in her 40s in a knee-length blue dress approaches and says, "Are you ready? As Justice of the Peace, I suggest we start now. I've got another ceremony to officiate after this and must catch the next ferry." While the Justice of the Peace huddles with Billy and Grit to discuss the order of the service, I wander away to look out a window, lost in thought. Perhaps the wedding officiant will help me get released. I'll pull her aside and ask her as soon as I can. Florence sidles up to me and adjusts her bird's nest of a red wig. "Good to see you. This is a bright spot in the day, isn't it?" I nod. "It certainly is." "I haven't seen you around. Where'd you go?" Goosebumps prick my skin. They dragged me into the isolation room. It was hell over handbaskets in that suffocating space. I couldn't breathe and I thought I'd go crazy. I can't go back there again. Talking about it, my pulse picks up and my palms become moist. Her eyebrows shoot up. "Sounds awful. I hope I'll never be a guest in that room." "Attention, everyone," Ms. Wright says, clapping her hands. "We're about to start the ceremony." The Justice of the Peace stands with her back to a wall facing Billy and Grit, who are holding bouquets of dried lavender tied with purple ribbons. Someone switched off the television, thank goodness. The Justice of the Peace introduces herself, puts on her bifocals, and reads to us about passion fading into commitment and forging a long-lived love. Tears well up in my eyes, and I brush them away. My throat is tight as a vice. If I start crying about Albert, I won't be able to stop. Looking back, I see fault lines in our marriage, but I also know I was loved. I guess I was lucky and unlucky at the same time. Someone claps. Just look at these two beautiful people tying the knot. They're glowing, fueled by happiness. Ms. Wright sniffles and blows her nose. It's a marvel to witness someone as hard-hearted as her touched and shedding tears at a wedding. Billy reads a short, simple vow aloud about finding the one pearl in the universe made for her. Grit says she's so grateful this amazing person named Billy lit up her life, filling it with joy. An aide watches, putting a hand over her heart. Florence nods vigorously and her wig bobs, shifting a half-inch. I swear, Miss Wright and I are doing all we can to keep it together and not blubber like babies. Tears trickle down my cheeks. Albert, I trusted you. You deceived me. Closing my eyes, I drift back to the last time Albert and I sat on our back deck, inhaling the scent of lilacs and listening to birdsong. I was the picture of innocence as we made the most of it on a Sunday in August, sipping coffee outside, reading the newspaper, and discussing breaking news. Now I know you can't trust anyone, not even your husband or your children. The wedding officiant strikes a small brass gong, bringing me back to the present. I promise myself I won't be a soft-petaled pink peony drooping after a storm, but a plucky yellow daffodil surviving gusts of wind and hard rains. I'm tough, and I'll get through this. The justice of the peace says, I now pronounce you wife and wife. You may kiss the bride. And we all clap. Bravo, I say, clapping wildly as if I've never been to a wedding before. Bravo! I'm grateful to be sharing a happy moment before I go back to planning how to get out. Never give up is my motto, as well as always aerate and thatch your lawn in early spring for best results. When an aide comes around with a tray of Dixie cups half filled with white grape juice, I take one. I sidle over to the justice of the peace, hoping to have a word with her. We toast to the glowing couple. They're holding hands and can't take their eyes off each other, looking like teenage lovers. The grape juice tastes sweet, sliding down my parched throat. I turn to the justice of the peace. Lovely service. Might I have a word with you? When she glances at my shaved head, her hands tighten on her purse handles. I'm sorry, but I can't. I've got another wedding to preside over in Millersville. I reach out to take her hand, wanting to delay her. It'll just take a minute. She pulls her hand away from mine, and her eyes dart around the room as if she's eager to get away from me. She looks like she's afraid of me. Do I look that scary? Take me with you, I say, latching onto her elbow. Sorry, I've got to go, she says, moving away. She waves goodbye to the married couple and disappears out the door. Standing with hands hanging by my sides, I'm as useless as a boat run aground. Will I ever get the chance to march out the door and never return? 37. Dusty. At the Stag Tavern, wooden doors hung on the walls as a nod to decor. College students gathered around two pool tables in the back. Dusty leaned on the U-shaped bar and sipped beer, feeling pleased with himself. He'd just put down earnest money at the real estate agent's office to buy acreage. Finally, his plans were taking shape. When he broke ground for Stone Estates, his photo would be in the paper, he was sure of it. He'd lean against a bulldozer and smile into the camera. A man in his 50s with a paunch clapped him on the back, bursting his dreamlike bubble. His buddy ran an excavating company. Extensive dirt work would be needed for his subdivision, and it was going to be expensive. 50 homes, you say? That's right, Dusty said, grinning. They'll be the hot new must-have thing. When'll you apply for permits? Be a while yet, Dusty said. Gotta tie up some loose ends. A man with thick eyebrows raised a bottle of Bud. Remember, I'm your go-to guy for windows. I won't forget that, Dusty said, enjoying the attention. Armando, the framing crew foreman, said, How far along are you? Early stages, talking with an architect and engineer about drawing up plans. The window supplier nodded. Talk about hitting the mother lode, coming into cash. Dusty chuckled, basking in the spotlight. The excavator said, Didn't I see you with a gorgeous blonde last night? You might have, Dusty said with a smile, thinking of his date. He'd wanted to ask Frida, who worked at the bank, out for months. He'd been too shy until now. A whole new side of himself was coming out that had never seen sunlight before. He'd taken her to the local Italian restaurant, Nona's, where the owner greeted them. In dim candlelight, he'd ordered as if he was a real estate tycoon. They'd had before-dinner drinks, Manhattans, appetizers, mussels in white wine sauce, a bottle of red wine, Malbec, the most expensive main courses on the menu, pork roast and halibut, and dessert, tiramisu. It was the best dinner he'd ever had, and he left a 20% tip to show the kind of man he was. Although he enjoyed the evening, the conversation was stilted. When Frida mentioned she was attending college nights and wanted to be a professor, a gap wider than Cedar Channel opened in the conversation. He didn't understand why someone would want to go to college or teach, and his mind translated what she said to boring. He checked out after that until he gave her a peck on the cheek at her car. As she jumped in her Lexus and roared out of the lot, he shrugged. Now that he was feeling more confident, he had more women to pick from in town than framing nails in a house. His phone rang and he saw Shore Lodge was calling. He said to the group, "Sorry, gotta take this." He headed out the door to hear better. "Hello? Mr. Stone, this is Ms. Wright at Shore Lodge. Your mother ran out today and had to be placed in our isolation room to calm down. A closet door fell on her as well. When she tugged on a sliding door, it fell on top of her." "Oh, man," Dusty groaned. He wanted her at Shore Lodge, but he didn't want her getting hurt. He also didn't want her taken to a hospital where she might run away. "Is she in pain? Anything broken?" "We took x-rays and she's just bruised is all. She's doing fine." Standing in the alley, he smelled cigarette smoke and French fries, making him hungry. His stomach growled. "How was she in the isolation room?" "I'm afraid she didn't like it. She had a bathroom accident, but we cleaned her up. We hope she's learned her lesson and won't try to get out again." "I hope so, too." He hung up and cussed. 38. Rose. Although Rose's mind was on work as she answered emails and calls, Dr. Henderson's words grated on her. She kept thinking back to how he said her mother could end up at Shore Lodge for the rest of her life. What an absurd idea. Her mother wasn't that out of it. And he'd said her brother agreed with him. As soon as she could grab a few minutes, she needed to call and confront Dusty. In a quiet moment, Rose got up and knocked on her boss's open office door. Joan looked up from her laptop. "Yes? I just wanted to let you know I need to make a few personal calls about my mother. I can't put this off. We have fewer calls coming in now, but I'm sure you have many emails to answer." Joan tapped a long purple fingernail on her desk blotter and stared at Rose. Rose gulped. "I'll get my job done, I assure you, but my mother needs me. I can't abandon her in this critical time." "Go ahead, but check in with me later. We might have to work late." "I told my ex-husband I'd pick my son up at 6. "Are we going to have a problem? Maybe you shouldn't have picked a job that was so demanding if your family needs you so much." "What? No, it's not a problem. It's just that my personal life is crazy right now, with being called back to work and no childcare available. I'm in a tight spot this week, but it'll get better." Joan sat back and eyed her. "What exactly is wrong with your mother, if I can ask?" Rose's throat closed tight. "My brother admitted her to a secure psychiatric facility and she's not happy. I don't think she has to be there." Joan slapped the desk. "Holy shit, that's a big deal. I had no idea. Can you imagine if someone did that to you?" "I know," Rose said, nodding. "The trouble is, I helped trick her into going there for a short stay. I didn't think it would be long-term." Joan waved her hands in the air. "Get going and do something about it before it's too late. Your poor mother." When Rose turned to go, Joan said, "Hold on. I hate to ask, but does she deserve to be there? Not to get too personal, but is there a chance she shouldn't be let out?" Rose chewed on a fingernail. "I'm not sure, but I have a bad feeling about it, and I'm going to find out. From the way the doctor at the facility was talking, something didn't seem right." "Go on then, go. Look into it and find out for your mother's sake." Back at her desk, Rose texted Uncle Fred. "Just had a strange call with Dr. Henderson at Shore Lodge. Seems odd he doesn't want a second opinion. What do you think?" Maybe together she and Uncle Fred could figure this out. A few minutes later, Uncle Fred called on Rose's cell. "I agree," he said. "Something isn't right. Shore Lodge wouldn't let me in to visit your mom today so she could sign papers revoking her power of attorney. Dusty is now the only one authorized to visit your mother." Rose stood up and paced in her cubicle. 1 foot ahead, turn and repeat. "What the hell is Dusty doing? I'll call him and have it out right now." Hanging up, she called her brother. When he didn't pick up, she left a message. "What were you thinking, changing who can visit Mom? Uncle Fred tried to see her today and couldn't get in. I was planning to check on her this weekend. I think you're up to something and I'm going to get to the bottom of it. Call me back right away." 39. Jacqueline. After the wedding, Ms. Wright marches me down the hall with a firm grip on my arm and shoves me into my room, locking it. After the relative freedom and congeniality of the day room, I'm back in a solitary space, wishing I was beyond these walls. Come on, I tell myself, devise a cunning, fail-proof plan. If I made a sign to put in the window, would the gardeners notice and help me? Not likely, since they're paid by the lodge, but I might give it a try. The risk is if they reported me and Ms. Wright tightened security, which I don't want. When someone in the next room shouts, I put my ear to the wall and listen. "You have no right to do this," a man with a deep, booming voice says. A second man says, "Dad, you can't live by yourself anymore." "I refuse to live here," Ms. Wright speaks up. "Jack, this is your room. You'll like it at Shore Lodge." Jack says, "Over my dead body." I wish I could help Jack, but I'm locked in. I pound on the wall to pull their attention away and give him a break. He sounds riled up, and I know just how he feels. Ms. Wright says through the door, "Quiet down, Jackie. Stop pounding on the wall. There's enough going on without you acting up." Down the hall, a woman shrieks like a seagull. "Gibber, gibber, caw, caw." Jack's getting the others worked up. Mrs. Skidmore can't move her arms to flap her wings because she's restrained, but she sure can use her mouth. My toes curl because whatever happens, I don't want to follow in Mrs. Skidmore's fate. She's come undone. I'll be heading that way if I stay in this place. Little by little, I'll succumb, letting go of what makes me myself. I can't let that happen. I've got to get out before I lose my resolve. In the next room, Jack bellows, "You can't make me live here. No, don't come near me with that. No!" He whimpers and falls silent. Tears stream down my cheeks. The poor, helpless man. Ms. Wright has the upper hand with a stockpile of weapons, door locks, restraints, sedatives, and condescending baby talk that can knock a grown woman out like a tranquilizer dart. But at the wedding, I saw a different side of her, so I could ask her again to help me. Slim chance. I roll my eyes at the ridiculous notion and tell myself to focus on finding a better way out. Jack's hubbub is creating a distraction, so I try turning the doorknob. Of course it doesn't open. I might as well be 50 fathoms below the surface of the ocean in a submarine, given the stale air I'm breathing and the confined space I inhabit. Glancing at the locked window, I decide a Phillips head screwdriver would allow me to remove the 6 screws, open the window, and climb out. I'll make a rope out of the bed sheets. Chewing on the inside of my cheek, I nod. It's a scary but not impossible plan. In the meantime, I need to disable the security camera. I can't have someone watching me if I manage to find the right tool. I push the bed so it's under the surveillance camera and climb up. With my right eye in the camera lens, I look for a battery to pull out to disable the system, but it's hardwired. To distract anyone who might be watching, I turn what I'm doing into a deranged comedy routine. I'm an expert in telling corny jokes that make people groan. That way, whoever is watching me will pay attention to something else. "Hello," I say with my eye close to the camera. "How's the weather where you are? It's fine here, and I'm going to give you a comedy show. I can't deliver the best jokes, but it's all I've got." I blink into the camera, looking closer. "Hello? Anyone there?" My purpose is to get on their nerves enough so they stop watching me, the pesky patient who won't stop chattering. Nothing to see here, folks. Move on. All right, here's a joke to kick off the show. Why did the ballet dancer touch her toes? While I'm talking, I feel around the back of the camera. Maybe there's another way to disconnect the watchful eye. Have you heard this one? Any idea what the answer is? Well, I'll tell you. Because she dropped her tutu, that's why. I groan extra loud at the punchline. The surveillance camera is hardwired for power. There's no way to disconnect it. Covering the lens is my best approach so the staff won't watch me. Sorry about the poor quality of the not funny jokes. Good golly, what else? Did you hear the one about the trumpet player who wore out his mute? Well, I didn't either. I slap my thigh and fake a laugh. These aren't the least bit humorous, but I want whoever's on the other end to turn off the camera or ignore me. I send a mind message. Stop watching me. After a few more pathetic attempts at humor, I say, well, that wraps up our first show for today. I'll just cover this thing up while I'm getting ready for my next act. I put a finger to my lips. Shh, don't tell anyone. I'm rehearsing and it has to stay private. You don't want to ruin the show, do you? To throw them off, I cackle and chatter while I wrap a t-shirt over the camera. Then I count the minutes until someone comes. 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 tomato, 4. The door opens. Ms. Wright walks in. Cut out the funny business, Jackie, and take that cover off the camera. Don't touch the surveillance equipment. I smiled to disarm her, wanting to leave the t-shirt over the lens. In a goofy, loud voice while moving my hands like windmills, I say, I'm making a mess of my comedy show. That's why I need to practice my act in private, so no one sees me ahead of time. This will be our little secret, won't it? Stop being cute, she says, tugging on the t-shirt and tossing it on the bed. I've got more important matters to attend to than your hijinks. Hijinks are like hyenas, I say, flopping on the bed and hamming it up. They both run fast and have a spotted history. Isn't that funny? Keep it to yourself, Ms. Wright says. As she exits, I say, could I please have a piece of paper and a black marker? I'd like to draw. It'd be art therapy. She pauses. Residents can't have markers unless they're under direct supervision. You might eat it. She goes out and locks the door. Click. So much for that idea. I sigh, defeated. The sign in the window had little chance of working anyway. For the next hour, I cover the camera lens, put on a bad comedy act that would bore the best of us, and count the seconds until an employee turns up in my room. It's getting longer and longer between interruptions. At last, it's 5 minutes until they send in the housekeeper to pull down the t-shirt. Now I'm getting somewhere. By the time an aide brings dinner to my room, I've succeeded in wearing them down. The t-shirt stays up over the surveillance camera, and every now and then I clear my throat and pretend I'm practicing my ridiculous show. This will help me in the coming days, so I commit to keep up my act until I leave, if that time ever comes. I pick at overcooked lasagna, limp spinach, and soggy peas, but I need my strength, so I force myself to chew and swallow, repeating the mechanical motions. This food, I hope, will fuel my way home. In the next room, a tray hits the floor with a crash. I get up and stand by the wall, listening. I don't want to be here, a man yells. I want to go home. Don't we all? I'm with you, buddy. I'm your invisible next-door neighbor. An aide sounds as if she's speaking to a child when she says, Jack, we don't make messes on the floor. You'll get used to living here. The others have. The aide's selling manure and saying it smells like sunshine. No one in their right mind would want to be here for even an hour. Well, except for the newlyweds in Florence who don't seem upset about being confined. They're not trying to leave, which shows we approach life differently. What's my nightmare may be another person's favorite breakfast biscuit. I'll take mine with butter, please. Get out of my way, Jack says. I'm leaving. Your son admitted you, the aide says. You have to stay here. Although we might never meet, Jack and I are in the same boat. We've been admitted against our will by our grown children. Why couldn't my new neighbor in the next cell over be cared for at home? Was his son acting out of sheer selfishness or out of exhaustion or a little bit of both? I suspect my son is doing this for his own gain, and I intend to find out at some point. Greed may have wrapped its tentacles around his heart. Me, my, mine, he'd said as a child. Perhaps he hasn't grown out of it. An aide bustles into my room. I'll take your tray. You may have heard a commotion next door. Your new neighbor's not happy, but he'll settle in. It takes time for the stubborn ones to realize they're not calling the shots. They're angry and think their families abandoned them. Mine did, I say with a shrug. When she leaves the room, the door closes and I'm stuck on the wrong side of freedom again. The air is still, stifling my every thought, so I turn and gaze out the window as a landscaper finishes up work for the day. Wearing brown coveralls, he pushes a lawnmower into an 8x10 garden shed and puts a leaf blower and a gasoline can inside. He lights a cigarette and places the lighter on the shelf along with a pack of cigarettes. He might be a secret smoker, hiding his habit, like my husband did his medical condition. The gardener drops his cigarette on the ground and grinds the butt under his boot heel like my son does. He tugs on his black mustache, looking around. Then he locks the shed and hides the key under a nearby flower pot. 40. Jacqueline. When the door to my room opens a few minutes later, Dusty steps in. He clears his throat as the door closes. He's scowling and his freckled face is flushed. A shiver runs up my spine. I'm afraid of my own child, who I once trusted. I have no idea what he'll do next, so I brace myself. I bet whatever it will be won't be in my best interests. He looks like a bulldozer about to demolish a derelict house. Smoke might as well be spewing from his ears. A vein in his temple throbs as he stomps across the floor. I flinch as he approaches. What were you thinking, pulling so hard on a door it fell on you? You're lucky you didn't break a bone. My pulse quickens. I doubt he's as concerned as he looks. Looking straight at him, I say, I'm a tough bird, so don't worry about me. Guess I didn't know my own strength. His eyes spark with anger. You tried to run away. You've got to accept that this is your new home. My right eye twitches. My kids don't care. They've parked me in the used car lot and left me to rust. I'll tell you what. When I'm home, you won't have to worry about me or call or visit. Check that off your list. I'll be fine on my own and won't bother you with my neediness. His jaw clenches. If you don't start to behave, I'll move you into the Cedar Care Center, not nearly as nice as this. I take a quick breath. Not that place. It stinks and everyone in town knows it. They call it a rehab center, but people rarely leave on their own 2 feet. More like to the morgue as the next step. Pointing at him, I say, release me. Today. It's the right thing to do and you know it. Imagine if your dad knew about this. What would he say? I stare, boring a hole into his conscience. He would say it's wrong, wrong, and more wrong. Let me out. Dusty gazes out the window and ignores me. My throat tightens with tears of frustration. I think about my dog, who's even more helpless than I am. How's Buddy? When my son doesn't answer, I panic. What's wrong? I don't have time to take care of a dog. I'm taking him to the shelter later today. I burst into tears, picturing Buddy at the pound. He'll bark his head off and wait for me to pick him up. He'll be traumatized. My knees go weak and I grab the window ledge, tears streaming down my face. Dear, sweet dog, I never should have left you. My resolve grows as I wipe my nose on my sleeve. My son won't win the next round. The idea of rescuing Buddy lights a fire in me, and I stand tall. I'm not beaten down. I will rise. I'll fly out the window if I must. Hold on, Buddy, I'm coming for you. Drawing a shaky breath, I say with new authority, you'll treat me with respect and decency. Start acting like the man your father admired. Let me go home. He shakes his head and says nothing, which infuriates me. My anger ratchets up even more. I won't stand for the silent treatment. Listen up and listen well. You will do the honorable thing and release me this instant. I'm trying to change his mind, but from his bland expression, it's about as effective as hammering air and expecting to hit something solid. I must save myself and my dog. With a smug smile, he says, "Bet you'd like to know what I've been doing while you're in here. I'm selling your house. Tomorrow." I gasp, clapping a hand to my heart. This is too much. He wouldn't do that. "What did you say?" "I'm going to sell your house tomorrow to my assistant and her husband. It's all set up for sale by owner, no realtor involved. Makes good business sense, don't you think?" I lean over and with shaking hands wipe my brow. Could he be serious? It seems he is. This is unbelievable, unforgivable. This man is not my son. "You can't arrange it that fast." He smiles. "But I did. I set it in motion before you came to Shore Lodge." Clearing my throat, I speak in a calm voice. I won't be a victim. I have a core of steel, no matter what happens. What you're talking about doing is heartless. You look perfectly pleased about giving away my dog and taking my home from me. I hardly recognize the son I raised. Who are you? What have you become? When all he does is shrug, I say, "Are you getting back at me for not buying you a Fender Stratocaster guitar in the 8th grade after you had one lesson?" He nods. "It was the least you could do after paying for anything Rose wanted." I put a hand to my forehead, wondering why Rose hasn't visited. How little I knew my children or my husband. They're strangers. I see it clearly from this side of the channel. "I'm sorry I wasn't the perfect parent," I say with a sigh. "I did the best I could. If I could go back in time, I'd do a bunch of things differently. Because of how I grew up, I haven't had the success I deserve. All my problems are your fault." My mouth drops open. He isn't accountable for his actions and has the emotional intelligence of a Brussels sprout. He planned to rip my life apart, which makes his treachery worse. "I'm going to report you for elder abuse. You're taking advantage of me, and I bet you're using my money. I hope your conscience keeps you up at night for the rest of your life." He cocks his head. "This is best for the both of us. You'll learn to like it." His words spark a fire inside me. I'm not a confused widow anymore, but a woman who is fighting for her life. I'll find a way to live going forward. I'll get a new job. I'll mow down roadblocks and fly over speed bumps. "I'll be back in town," I say in a menacing tone. "I'll get Buddy and I'll stop you from selling my house." I'm panting as if I've run a race. Threats are easy, but following through will be tough. I hope I'll be able to show up in town. "The sale closes tomorrow," he says. "You should be proud of how I've handled the transaction since business means everything to you." I'm ready to end this injustice and take control. Hardship has made me into a mighty sledgehammer. I make one last plea, hoping he'll come to his senses. "Please don't take Buddy to the shelter. Give him to Mike, the neighbor. And don't sell my house." He pushes his hair out of his eyes. "Don't make this more difficult than it has to be. I've got enough to deal with. The house I'm building is falling behind schedule and the buyers are riding my back." Crossing my arms, I don't care about his house-building problems. What matters is he's holding me hostage and getting rid of what's dear to me. What a jackass my son turned out to be. How brazen to act like he cares for me. It's all about him. I've had enough, so I say, "You better leave, and I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be there to stop the sale. You're going to Millersville Escrow, is that right?" His eyes grow wide. "I sure am, and good luck. You think you can get out of here? No one can. I'm thinking about your long-term interests. Selling your house is the right thing to do." I want to throw up all over his new boots that must have cost $300. "Nice boots," I say with an acid edge. "I assume you bought them with my money?" "You know I wouldn't do that." I snort. "Stop lying to me and fess up to what you and your sister did. You took away my life. This is not where I want to live." He gestures out the window. "You've got a gorgeous view of the meadow. I thought you'd be happy here." "I'll be there tomorrow," I say through clenched teeth. He knocks on the door. As my traitor leaves, I double over as if I've been punched in the gut. I've never wanted to be this brave and reclaim my life, but I must. 41. Dusty. Riding the ferry to Millersville, Dusty drummed his fingers on the steering wheel of his red new Dodge Ram pickup. He'd written a check for the down payment. Proceeds from the sale of his mom's house would pay off the loan. He wiped his brow, recalling how angry his mom had been. Dr. Henderson told him to visit often the first week, which was hardest after a move. That way she wouldn't feel isolated. Staring at the gray water, he nodded to himself. Her 3-bedroom bungalow was too big for one person, so she'd needed to downsize to a smaller place. He'd done her a favor by clearing out her place. He sighed, bone-tired from tending to his mother while building a home. As the ferry nudged the Millersville dock, Dusty smiled. Tomorrow he'd sign papers to sell his mom's place. He'd button up the mother project and start the rest of his life. To celebrate, he leaned over and let out a bun-clapping fart. Brrrp. Fanning the air, he coughed and opened the windows. "One more day," he said to himself. "Just one more day and it'll all be over." Getting off the ferry, he drove to his office on the outskirts of town, thinking about women he'd like to date. A redhead at the tavern caught his eye, but he wasn't the best with words. He needed something romantic to say. He pulled into the parking lot where a billboard advertised roll-away bills, you can't beat 'em discount tires, and went into the single-story cinder block building. It was a dog of an office, but all he could afford. Next year, he'd be in the deluxe building downtown with other movers and shakers and have a view of the bay. He sat in his dad's wooden chair, put his feet on the metal desk and leaned back, letting his mind wander. Poetry might appeal to the redhead. He sat up with a thump, opened a drawer, and pulled out a book of poems by Rumi. A drywaller had recommended it, and Dusty discovered he liked poetry. Flipping through the pages for inspiration, he said aloud, "I'll make something up, like, 'I see grace and beauty in your face.' Might work." He'd been too shy to approach her at the Stag when their eyes locked across the room the other night. His assistant popped her head in the doorway. "Need anything before I go home?" She grinned. She'd been doing a lot of that lately since he agreed to sell his mom's house to her and her husband. Her 100-watt white-toothed smile was blinding, and he didn't mind her tight-fitting sweaters. "All set," he said. "See you at Millersville Escrow tomorrow, 11 o'clock. "Looking forward to it," she said, patting the doorframe before she left. Except he wasn't set. Dusty turned to the window, and instead of the yellow and black billboard, he saw a blur. In his head, he kept hearing his father's voice. "Your mother shouldn't be at Shore Lodge." It was getting hard to ignore. He picked up the phone to return his sister's call and give her an update. Because Rose went along with the plan, they shared the blame. Now Rose wasn't Mom's favorite after all. 42. Rose. Rose dashed out of work in Seattle and headed to the parking garage. She was running late. Greg wouldn't be happy about that. While she walked, she texted him to say she'd be there as soon as possible. Hurrying down a dimly lit alley between tall buildings, no one was in sight. Her brother shouldn't have admitted her mother. She saw that now. It was cruel to close her inside against her will. She had to do something to help her mom. A man in jeans and a t-shirt popped out of a dark doorway. "Spare change?" Rose jerked with surprise and continued on her way. "Sorry, no." Her footsteps echoed on the pavement. She glanced behind to check if anyone was following her. No one was. Fog was blowing in from Elliott Bay. "Faster," she told herself. "Max is waiting for me. Get to the car now." When her phone rang, it was her brother. Rose answered and said the first thing on her mind. "You can't stop me from visiting Mom." She was getting worked up from seeing people. The staff said she's too agitated. I'll add you to the list when she's calmer. "I want to get a second opinion. I don't think she belongs there, especially not long-term." "There's no need for that. Between Dr. Henderson's evaluation and Dr. Taft's diagnosis, we've got all we need. You're in this with me, you know. You went along with it." Rose got in her car and slammed the door. She put the phone on speaker and drove out of the parking lot. She couldn't afford a newer car, but someday, after being in this job for a while, she'd buy a new ride where the phone connected to her car. "I'm not in this with you. I'm out. What you're doing is wrong. Mom's not that out of it. I think she's just sad." Exiting the parking lot, she said, "Why are you doing this? Is it for the money?" When she slowed for the railroad tracks, a man flew out of the shadows. He pounded on her window. Wham, wham, wham. His hair stuck straight up and his eyes were glazed. "What the fuck?" she said, glancing at the man, eyes meeting eyes. Her heart was racing, her palms were cold. When he reached for the door handle, with a click, she locked the doors. He pulled on the handle and pressed his face to the glass. She floored it and drove until he released the door handle. It was only a few yards, but felt like miles. Her whole body was shaking. "What was that?" Dusty said. "You all right?" Turning on to Denny, she said in a tight voice, "A man tried to get in my car. He came out of nowhere." "Oh man, Seattle's not the same anymore." "And neither is Millersville," Rose said. "What you're doing will drive Mom crazy, like the guy who launched himself at my car. Why won't you let Mom go home?" Dusty chuckled. "Why would I do that?" "Because it's the right thing to do. She shouldn't be locked up long term. She needs to be home with Buddy." When he didn't respond, she said, "I think you lied to get me to agree with you. I bet you told Dr. Henderson stories about Mom and said she's incompetent. She just needed a break. Bring her home, whatever your reasons are for having her there." "I'm selling her house tomorrow, so I can't. She tried to run away again and they put her in the isolation room. Dr. Henderson said she made progress in his support group, but then she regressed." "Dusty, tell me you're making that up about selling her house." "It's the truth. She needed a smaller space anyway." "You can't sell her place. It's her anchor, her connection to Dad." "It's too late. The place has been cleaned out and it's ready for a new owner." "You're abusing your power of attorney. I'll report you. She loves that house." Rose merged onto Aurora Avenue North and took her eyes off the road to glance at her phone. The battery was almost dead. Honk. Rose swerved to avoid hitting a car in the next lane. A man rolled down his window and shook his fist at her. Cringing, she waved to the driver to say she was sorry. A lot of good that would do, given how ticked off he was. Rose felt that way about her brother. She was so mad at him she wanted to shake him. But she needed information about her mother, so she said, "What isolation room? I didn't see it on the tour." The phone beeped, battery power low. Her right eye twitched. Her nerves were jangled from the confrontation downtown and from what her brother had said. "The isolation room is in their infirmary. They use it to calm residents down." She furrowed her brow. "How big is it? If it's small, Mom would hate that." "About the size of a small closet. Not like the huge walk-in closets everyone wants in houses nowadays. They said they had no choice but to put her in there." Rose whooshed out a breath. She'd hate being stuck in a small space like that. This wasn't how a vulnerable widow should be treated. Even worse, her brother sounded fine about it. He was the abuser of the bereaved, and she hadn't noticed until now. "She can't go in there," she said. "She'll panic." "Maybe after that experience, she won't run away again." A headache throbbed and Rose rubbed her temple. They'd packed Jacqueline off to a secure facility to sit on a shelf collecting dust. She wouldn't blame her mom if she never wanted to speak with her again. She'd let her brother, who was known to be irresponsible, make decisions concerning their mother's welfare. Her mom was claustrophobic, and yet they put her in an isolation room. It was flat out cruel. She said in a hushed voice, "What have we done?" He was quiet for a moment. "Don't second-guess yourself." "Please don't sell her house. It's all she's got left. Release her and let her go home." "You agreed with my plan. If there's blame, we share it. You bought into it." "Don't treat Mom like this," she said, "Or you'll what? You can't do anything. I have the power." Rose clenched her jaw. I spoke with Dr. Henderson about reconsidering his recommendation for Mom. He told me, but it didn't amount to much, just a pile of bent nails. Her hands grew moist. I'm going to get Mom out, no matter what you do. I'll file a complaint with the state and say you're abusing your power. No problem, he said, sounding sure of himself. I can handle it. With a bleep, the phone died. What a jerk, she said to herself. No use talking to him anyway. It was clear he didn't care about Mom. His mind was made up and he wasn't going to release her. He might as well have issued a press release and put it in the headline. She stopped at a red light on Holman Road. If only traffic would move faster. Max and Greg were waiting for her. Tonight, after Max fell asleep, she'd file a complaint online for elder abuse with whatever state agency had oversight over Shore Lodge. She'd email the state attorney general. She'd ask Senator Murray for help. Parking spots along Greenwood Avenue in front of Greg's building were taken, so she pulled over in the next block and dashed out of the car to get her son. Under her breath, she said, "Hang on, Mom. I'll get you out." 43. Jacqueline. After dinner, I practiced my fairly awful comedy routine with a t-shirt covering the surveillance camera. I've gotten to the point where I can leave the lens covered most of the time. Ms. Wright opens the door. "Stop making bad jokes and take that off the camera. Come with me to the day room. You can watch television." I tug the shirt off and go with her, hoping to spot a way out. While I amble down the hall, Ms. Wright has a firm grip on my arm. Her breath smells like cinnamon gum and cigarettes. I peer into a room where a white-haired woman is in bed. She's slack-jawed and staring into space. What a way to spend eternity, drifting to the other side of the curtain of death. I've grouped residents into 4 categories. Vacant stares gaze into the distance, seeing a far-off, hopefully better place. Shrieking howlers are tied down and look like they might erupt and be violent. Endless wanderers shuffle down the hall, back and forth as if being on the move is their life mission. Enlightened ones are the folks who found a way to make peace with this place. Billy, Grit, and Florence managed to find meaning and purpose here. I just can't. An aide with a tattoo of a rose on her right arm sits at the staff desk. She's typing on a computer keyboard. Whatever she's writing must be pretty darned important because she's concentrating hard with her tongue sticking out between her front teeth. Under harsh fluorescent lights, the desk is a command center designed to rule the world, and it does within these stark walls. When we pass by, the aide looks up and says to Ms. Wright, "I'm going out for a beer at Anderson's after work. Want to go?" My mouth waters as I picture myself sipping a beer or my favorite cocktail, a French 75. Just imagining the taste of champagne, gin, lemon juice, and sugar makes my mouth pucker. How I wish I was sitting with my friends on my back deck now. "I can't today," Ms. Wright says to the aide. "I'm taking my mother on errands." So, she's a dutiful daughter during her off hours. Reminded of family, I swallow hard. Like Ms. Wright, my son took me on errands and to see my doctor, but that was back when I trusted him. Think, I tell myself, think of how to get out. It must be tonight. Tomorrow will be too late. As we continue down the hall, Mrs. Skidmore shrieks like a seagull. Ms. Wright says in her stern voice, "Calm down, Mrs. Skidmore." Mrs. Skidmore pulls on her restraints like a tethered bird attempting to take flight. "I want an ice bath." "Not today. It's too late. Maybe tomorrow." Mrs. Skidmore shivers and says, "I'm cold." The aide gets up. "I'll get your sweater." Being cold reminds me of how I'd planned to go south next winter to Arizona for a 2-week vacation. I was going to hike and sit by the pool reading books. Dusty and Rose lit a match to my dreams, turning them into ashes. Thinking about it makes me angry, and as I walk beside Ms. Wright, I massage my tight jaw. In the day room, a man in his 70s using a wheelchair says, "This is bullshit. You can't keep me here." Veins stand out in his hairy, muscular arms. Now, Jack," Ms. Wright says to him. When she lets go of my arm, I rub the spot where her hand was. She's got the pincer grip of a crab. She turns to me. "I'll be back for you in an hour. Don't try anything because we'll be watching on the surveillance cameras. I crane my neck and look around. There's the camera on the ceiling. They're using a Big Brother is watching you lens. Privacy is a thing of the past. Ms. Wright says to Jack, "I'll take you to your room." As she wheels him out, he says, "Every day must be like the last in this snake pit." The poor man, forced to live here by his son. My mind wanders to my son, but I reel it back in. I can't get distracted. I must address the pressing problem of how to get out and cross the water tonight. When I sit next to Florence, she pats her hair. Her red wig wobbles. I touch the fuzz on top of my head. The brutal haircut violated my body. They took the one thing I was still proud of and left it on the cutting floor. I'll never be the same after being held down in that chair. "What are you in for?" I ask. "Did you tick off a family member like I must have?" Florence says, "My brother showed up one day and said he wanted to take me on a drive to see something. He walked in here with me. That's the last I've seen of him. I was always kind to him and his family, but that didn't matter. He said they didn't want the responsibility and I was too old to live on my own." That's awful. Did you give him power of attorney over your medical decisions and finances like I did? Florence leans in as if she's about to share a secret. "I did. The thing is, I didn't need their help and I'm not old. I can walk fine. I'm agile and alert. They just didn't want to worry about me. I have no idea what happened to my things in my apartment. I lost an antique thimble and my great-grandmother's sewing basket, among other treasures." "Oh," I say, lacking weighty enough words. "How ghastly." I don't mention it to her because I don't want her to feel worse, but I have a home to return to with all my possessions. That's a gutbuster. It's so sad. Her eyes are wet with tears. "It turned out my big, happy, extended family was a one-sided myth and existed only in my mind. I could have shredded the cash I spent on their Christmas and birthday gifts all those years. What a waste." I clench my fists. People shouldn't be treated like this. I'm so mad my body could ignite a bonfire. My kids did the same thing. They might as well have wrapped chains around me and dumped my body in the bay. They wouldn't want to be locked inside or have their lives taken from them. Florence nods. Turning to position myself so the camera can't see my face and the staff won't read my lips, I say in a low voice, "No matter what, I'm going to find a way out." Her brown eyes open wide. I didn't think that was possible. A maintenance worker wearing a tan shirt and pants comes into the day room, keys jangling on his belt. He's carrying a toolbox and a ladder. He whistles, which is a pleasant sound in a place like this. Opening the toolbox, he pulls out a flashlight. After he sets up the ladder and climbs up, Mr. Happy pushes on a white ceiling tile and looks around using the flashlight. I hold a finger to my lips and nod to Florence before slinking over to the toolbox and, with my back blocking the camera, I pick through his tools, searching for something that will help me exit the building. When I grab a Phillips head screwdriver and tuck it into the waist of my khaki shorts, the metal shaft is cold and hard against my bare stomach. "Looks all right," Mr. Happy says to himself. "Problem must be somewhere else." Ms. Wright arrives to escort me to my room. My heart thumps as I head back to my room with my head down. I'm doing my best to look dazed. I don't want to attract attention. 44. Rose. Rose settled Max into bed, gave him a kiss, and left him with a book. She had a lot to do tonight. Opening her laptop, she searched online for how to lodge a complaint in the state of Washington about elder abuse. "Aha," she said. "Here we go." At the top of the website search results was, "To report abuse or neglect of a vulnerable adult in Washington state, call the Complaint Resolution Unit toll-free hotline at 1-800-562-6078 if the person that you suspect is being abused or neglected is living in a nursing home, boarding home, or adult family home." She picked up her phone and dialed the number. "If you have a complaint about a licensed long-term care facility," a recorded message said, "you've come to the right place. Press 6 on your keypad if you're a family member concerned about exploitation or abuse." Rose pressed 6 and learned where to file a complaint online. She hung up and went to the Residential Care Services website. Abuse could be an action that unreasonably confines a vulnerable adult. Rose nodded. Abuse could also be financial exploitation, improper use of property, income or resources of the vulnerable adult, including a sudden transfer of assets. Like selling Mom's house, she said, nodding to herself. And her store. What happened to the money he got from selling her store? She filled out the form and went back to her original online search. Scrolling down the page, she read, "To report elder abuse, contact Adult Protective Services, APS, or call the statewide hotline at 1-866-363-4276. 1-866-END-HARM. A different phone number, so that was good. The more complaints she filed meant the more chances of authorities stopping her brother and helping Mom. When she tried the second number, she got a recording that directed her to an online form, so she filled that out. She found another definition of elder abuse and checked to see if her mother fit. It certainly looked like she did. The revised code defines elder abuse as neglect, exploitation, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, and physical abuse. Abuse can occur through willful action or inaction that inflicts an injury or acts as intimidation or punishment against a vulnerable adult. Rose mentally checked the box for exploitation and emotional abuse. Double-check for willful action and intimidation. Her brother was toast. She hoped the authorities would agree with her when she spoke to them tomorrow because she intended to call and follow up. Next, she looked up how to file a complaint with the Attorney General's office in Washington State and found an online form. Tapping away on the keyboard, she completed the form and submitted it. She smiled to herself. Now we're getting somewhere. Before the night was done, Dusty would regret he'd admitted their mother to a secure psychiatric facility. Her mother needed an advocate, and Rose was leading the charge in case no one else was. She'd text Uncle Fred before she went to bed to let him know what she'd done. It wouldn't hurt to have more than one person making complaints, and she couldn't assume someone else was taking steps to protect her mother. She was about to lodge a Better Business Bureau complaint, leave a scathing Yelp review, and email Senator Murray's office asking for help when Max came out of his bedroom. "I don't feel so good," he moaned and doubled over. Rose jumped up and ran over to him. "Let's get you in the bathroom and take your temperature." Burp, splat. Max threw up in the hallway. Chunks of hot dog stood out in the mess on the carpet. It stunk. "Come on," she said, breathing through her mouth. "Let's get you to the toilet." She ushered him into the bathroom, lifted the toilet seat lid, and patted Max's back as he leaned over the toilet bowl, drooling, spitting, and coughing. Tomorrow, she'd tackle the emails to the BBB and the senator's office and leave a negative Yelp review. Right now, her son came first. Even if she got fired for making too many personal calls and taking care of personal business at work, she had to do this for her mother's sake. She couldn't sit back and let her mom lose her mind from being closed inside. If she was the one trapped in Shore Lodge, she'd want Max doing all he could to release her. She had to stop Dusty from abusing his power of attorney. 45. 9 p.m. Jacqueline. A hot flash blazes through me like a furnace jacked up to 98 degrees Fahrenheit, and I fan my sweaty armpits. After lights out, if all goes well, I'll unlock the window and slip out. I'll take a boat, cross the water, and find my friend Fred to revoke my power of attorney. I don't know if it'll work, but I've got to try. I pull on layers of clothes under my pajamas so I'll be warm when I get outside and check to be sure my t-shirt is covering the surveillance camera. I nod. All is ready. The door opens. "Time for bed," an aide with dark circles under her eyes says, holding a cup of tea as she comes in the room. Sheila's hair is stringy, her breath smells like chocolate pudding, and her clothes stink of marijuana. Remembering my comedy act ruse to cover the camera, I stand by the bed and say, "I need to stay up and practice my routine. I have to get ready for the talent show." She shakes her head. "Go to bed, and we don't have a talent show." "We should. It'd cheer people up. I bet Mrs. Skidmore and Jack would like it." As I climb into bed, she says, "Why are you wearing so many layers of clothes? Did you forget to undress before you put on your pajamas?" With a frown, I say, I guess. Take them off or you'll be too hot under the covers. She sips her tea and watches as I strip off layers. Before I'm completely naked, I point to the bathroom. Would you please check the bathroom light? It's flickering. I don't want it to go out while I'm in there. I might have an accident and slip. Safety first, after all. I bet that'll make her go in there and check it out. I consider closing her in the bathroom, but it doesn't have a lock. If I blocked the door with a chair, she could shove it open in no time. When Sheila sets her cup down and goes in the bathroom, I take my sleeping pill that I hid with my socks and open the capsule, pouring the contents into her tea. That'll keep her quiet while I slip out this evening. My hands are shaking as I get into bed and pull up the covers, hoping not to be found out. The light looks fine to me, she says, coming out of the bathroom, but I'll report it to maintenance. Thank you. When she leaves, I reach under my pillow and touch the screwdriver I hid there. This tool will either free me or, if I'm discovered, ruin me and land me in the isolation room. I've got one chance to get it right tonight or my dog could be euthanized and my house sold. As I wait for the moment to make my move, my pulse pounds in my ears. The blanket is making me sweat, so I push it off and fidget, eager to be on my way. Without the ferry, I need to find a way across the water to town. I saw a few boats at a dock on the way to the lodge, so that's where I'll go first. If I have to row a skiff in stiff wind, I'll do it. I'd rather die than stay here for the rest of my life. When all is quiet in the hall, I get up and tie my sheets together to use for a rope. In the bathroom, I use the toilet one last time and gulp down water so I'll stay hydrated while I run. Then I listen at the hallway door for Sheila's whereabouts. Someone coughs. The door is cool against my ear. Counting the seconds, I tap my foot. Sheila hums and the break room door creaks shut. Good, she's distracted. Time to head out. I pull on my clothes and put the screwdriver in the cargo pocket of my shorts. I drop my sheepskin jacket on the floor under the window so it's ready for what I have planned next. In faint moonlight, I examine the screws locking the window. I pull the screwdriver out of my pocket. 6 pieces of metal are keeping me in prison. Unscrewing each one, I lean in to get traction. One resists and stays stuck. There's always a troublemaker in the bunch, like my son. The last screw finally turns. As I remove it, the screwdriver drops out of my hands and clatters to the floor. My heart thuds. I crouch and wait, hoping Sheila won't burst in to see what the noise was about. If she found me like this, it'd be a sure trip to the isolation room. My breath comes in short, shallow bursts. I'm lightheaded. If I don't get a grip, I'll spiral into full panic mode. Breathe in, I tell myself. Count to 4. Hold it 7 seconds and breathe out through my mouth. Repeat in as quiet a manner as possible. Avoid attracting attention. I run a hand over my short hair and glance at the ceiling. If I survive this night, it'll be because my bad jokes made them ignore the surveillance camera. Despite Albert's ribbing and my family's teasing, my corny jokes have paid off. With a smile, I think of our good days together. When the kids were young, they'd ask me to tell another joke. Just one more, Dusty would beg as we sat around the campfire. How things have changed. Crossing my fingers, I wait a few more minutes. All is quiet. It's time to go. When I slide open the window, a salty breeze blows in. An almost full moon comes out from behind clouds and shimmers over the meadow, but there's no time to appreciate it. Looking down at the ground from 2 stories up, I swallow. It's a long way, but I've faced worse since my husband's death, like Albert's medical bills, his secret spending, and my children turning against me. I pick up my sheepskin coat and stuff a carob brownie saved from dinner in the pocket for sustenance. When I toss the jacket out the window, it lands with a muffled thump. I can't wear it climbing down from the 2nd floor, where I need to be as agile as a spider weaving a web. I frown at how my kids lured me here with lies. It's time to rip their illusions down. I'm coming back to town. I tie the sheet around the bed frame and toss the other end out the window. Holding onto the sheet, I swing a leg over the windowsill and fumble around for a thick ivy vine. I noticed ivy growing up the side of the building when we drove in from the ferry, which feels like decades ago. Rest and recovery at a retreat center, my ass. What a sham my relationship with my son was. My muscles tense, ready for a fight. Groping in the dark for a vine, I recall how I dislike invasive, non-native English ivy, but the dreaded plant could assist me tonight. Ah, here's something prickly. My fingers touch a 2-inch rough rope of ivy. It might not support my weight, but it's my only way down unless I jump and break my bones. My tied-together sheets won't reach the ground. I swing my legs over the windowsill, wishing I didn't have to do this. I take a moment to slide the window closed. That way, Sheila won't notice a breeze or an open window when she does bed checks. My breath is ragged as I lower myself down the vine, keeping a hand on the sheet for a safety line. A thrill ripples through my body. I'm frightened and exhilarated to be out in the fresh air on a beautiful night. Finally, I'm outside. The ivy smells acrid. A stiff breeze gives me goosebumps. I'm more nervous than I've ever been before. When I glance down, my gut churns until I remember the earth is my friend. I'm best when I'm grounded with both feet on the soil, working with my hands. I'm strong, and I can do this. At the top of the first-floor window, I pause to catch my breath. My arms are shaking, and I'm panting. Doubts fly through my mind like bombs of self-destruction. This escapade may be foolish, but I can't let my kids and Shore Lodge control me. When I'm most of the way down, my hands slip on the ivy and my legs give way. I'm in the air, falling to the ground. My stomach is doing somersaults. Relax your muscles, I tell myself. Don't brace for impact or it'll hurt more. What the heck am I doing here? Whump. I land on my left side on grass. Extending my limbs, I test for pain. I hurt all over. My left arm and my chest ache, but I don't think I broke anything. I get up and grope for my sheepskin jacket, pulling it on. Albert gave me this when I turned 40, and I feel like he's hugging me when I wear it. If he was here, he'd be grinning about our great escape. We can do anything, he'd say. We have choices and we're in charge of our lives. And he's right. Before I run to Cedar Channel, I want to create a distraction. I hurry to the garden shed and try the door. It's locked. Lifting a nearby flower pot, one I'd seen the landscaper use when I was watching out the window, I find a key and stick it in the padlock. The door sticks, and I yank it open, smelling gas. Now for the jug of fuel for the lawnmower. There it is. The landscaper hauled it in here the other day. Lifting the heavy can of fuel, I fumble around and find the landscaper's lighter on a shelf. I hurry far from the building with the gas can handle digging into my hand to flower beds covered with hay. I pick an area away from Shore Lodge so as not to harm the residents. Pouring a line of gasoline over the hay, I hear it glug and gurgle, splashing out. I'm so angry at what my kids and Shore Lodge did, I want to torch the place. But I won't, because fine people are inside, like Billy and Grit and Florence and Jack and Mrs. Skidmore. But I swear I'll be dreaming about torching the lodge for the rest of my life. When I click the lighter and touch the flame to straws of hay, the fire catches with a satisfying glow. I'm mesmerized for a moment, amazed I made it this far, and then turn and run through the trees, pumping my legs as fast as I can. Every muscle in my body aches. I'm not sure I have the strength or stamina to get across the water in the dark, but I must try. I've got to get off the island. When I'm back in town, I'll change my power of attorney, save my dog, and get my home back, in that order. Step 1 is to get to Millersville, where I'll find help. The ferry is shut down for the night, so I'll take a boat from a dock I spotted on the way to Shore Lodge. I'll steal a motorboat because given the steady breeze, it's too rough to row. Canoes and kayaks overturn in choppy seas. Kayak adrift, body found on beach is a local news headline I've read before, and I don't intend to be the next victim of a boating accident. Part of me wishes I'd stayed in a warm bed at the lodge. It would be easy to give in, letting each day be like the last. But I grit my teeth and run ahead. Succumbing isn't and hasn't ever been in my blood. I must get across the water before I'm caught. If Shore Lodge or my kids find me, all will be lost and I'll be locked up and drugged. My feet pound the earth like I'm in a foot race. Gulping quick breaths, I run for my life. 46, Jacqueline. A shrill siren pierces the night air as I run. A fire engine with flashing lights lumbers down a road heading for the lodge. As I dive into a ditch so they won't spot me, I step into a hole and twist my left knee, sending sparks of pain to my brain. The left leg gives out and I collapse on the cold, hard ground. Get going, I tell myself. Get up. With a groan, I rise and limp along, stopping to pick up a branch for support. I'll use the walking stick as a weapon if someone tries to capture me. If I don't hurry, I'll end up as dead wood on the lodge's second floor. No one in Millersville will ever see me again. Dragging my left leg, I grimace and shuffle ahead. I come to the shoreline road and hobble across. Some 15 yards away, water glimmers in moonlight, and there's the dock with a few boats. Glancing across the water to town, I nod. Hold on, buddy. Stay alive. I'm coming for you. On the wooden dock, a 16-foot Boston whaler and a sturdy wooden skiff without a motor are waiting for their owners to take them out. I doubt anyone will show up at this time of night. Whitecaps fly past, telling me the wind and the current are strong. This is not a night to be boating, but I have to go. Leaning on my walking stick, I hobble down a dirt path to the dock. I toss the stick in the water to test the current's direction and speed. It moves east, heading for Hat Island at 6 or 8 knots is my guess. The wind ruffles my crew-cut hair and whistles past my ears. If it wasn't for my kids, I'd be at home in bed, fast asleep, or reading a book, finding out how it ends. I pick the Boston whaler for my best chance of making it to town, where streetlights flicker across the water. As I climb into the boat, my left knee aches as if someone kicked it. Cussing under my breath, I don't want to be overheard and hauled back. Sitting in the captain's chair, I grope around for a key left in the ignition. I know trusting boaters who leave their keys on board on this small island where everyone knows each other. If this doesn't work, I'll take the skiff and risk running into rocks in the windy weather. Anything is better than spending life locked up in room 12. Even if I'm able to start the engine, heading over rough water in the dark with a strong current means anything can happen. The boat could ram into a floating log and sink. It can hit a rock. There are all kinds of ways to die tonight. While I hunt for a key, it's cold and I can see my breath. I run my hands over the dash, coming up empty. Flipping up the seat cushions, I feel under them. This may be a fool's errand. I look around for oars, although this boat is too heavy to go far using them on a wild night like this, and I don't find them. I'm not sure how to hotwire an engine or even if it's possible on this boat. I'm stuck. Eyeing the motorless skiff, I'm ready to hop out and try the slower boat, but as a last-ditch effort, I lift off the GPS cover at the helm. Something metal hits the floorboards with a clunk and a clang. Getting on my hands and knees, I pat the decking. My fingers touch a cold metal key. With trembling fingers, I slide the key into the ignition. This journey will take courage. As my son has said, you need balls of steel to cross Cedar Channel at night. I review the next steps of my master plan. I'll cross the water, dock the boat in Millersville, and walk to Fred's and Mary's house about a mile away. Fred will help me draw up papers taking power of attorney from my son. Just thinking about it warms my insides as if I've downed a shot of whiskey. Okay, I say to the boat, patting the dashboard, I need you to take me to town. When I turn the key, the engine coughs and dies. Start, will you? Please start. My life depends on it. When I turn the key a second time, it roars to life. Letting out a sigh of relief, I look up at the night sky and say, I'm crossing the channel tonight. Wish me luck. At any minute, someone could appear, so I've got to go. I untie the dock lines and drive the boat away from the dock, accelerating into a growing storm. A cold wind rakes my shorn scalp and blows down my neck. My teeth chatter. Plowing through the chop, I shake my head. Only a fool would be out boating on a night like this. The farther I go from shore, the more the engine whines. Water comes over the windshield and splashes up the sides, hitting me in the face. I'm drenched and chilled to the bone. The waves are about 3 feet tall, and I fear we might capsize. I glance around for a life jacket but don't see one. Too late to search for one now, I have to stay at the helm. I look back at Cedar Island, where a blaze burns bright. I have no regrets. It wasn't a retreat center, but a trap. The current is strong, carrying me east and away from town. When I turn the wheel to correct course and gun it, the boat surges ahead. I grip the wheel and gulp deep breaths of salty sea air. I'm outside, my favorite place. The limitless expanse gives me a heady rush, and I cackle, "I'm free! I'm free!" As I fly across the water headed for home, I go over the rest of my plan. After getting Fred's help to revoke my power of attorney, I'll rescue Buddy from the shelter. I don't know what I'll do if he isn't there. Buddy is the only family member I trust now. Next, I'll go wave my new power of attorney document in my son's face and stop him from selling my house. I'll ask Fred to come along with me as backup. The thought of all this working out makes my knees tremble. I've got many moving parts to organize. Midway across, the current is stronger, forcing the boat east. I shove the throttle forward to get the most out of the Boston whaler and yank the wheel to correct course, turning toward town. But the steering wheel jerks port to starboard as if the sea is asserting control. My fingers are becoming numb. Salt spray stings my eyes, but I won't give up. Death doesn't scare me tonight. My dog needs me. I can't abandon Buddy. A horrible thought hits me. He might have been adopted or put down by now. I shake my head. He must be alive, waiting for me. Picturing his smile spurs me on. Waves crash against the boat, sending up salt spray. Ice-cold wind blasts across the open water. The boat smacks into a wave, flying up and slamming down. My back aches. I hold onto the wheel and brace myself as I plow through rough seas. The engine complains with a high-pitched whir, as if I'm asking too much when it would rather be back at the dock on sleepy, creepy Cedar Island. A shiver runs through me at the thought of going back. Others can have the beautiful agate beaches or a forever life at the lodge. I'm going home. My stomach growls. I bite off part of the smashed carob brownie from my pocket and make a face. Blech! The strange taste sucks the happy from my mouth. Brownies should be made with chocolate. When I get home, I'll issue a proclamation about that. Wind whistles in my ears. An ice pick headache throbs above my right eye. Cold sea spray runs down my back. The boat bucks the waves, rearing up and coming down. Every bone in my body aches. Salt spray peppers my face. I have to squint to see where I'm going. I'm shivering and my teeth are chattering, but I break into a smile because I'm free from that dreadful place. Riding a rush of adrenaline, I scream into the wind, "I did it! I'm free! Never again will I be locked inside. Let me make that clear if you didn't hear me. Never again!" On my right is an isolated area with a beach and a looming cliff. I turn the wheel and drive the boat closer to shore where the current won't be as strong. I'll run the boat up on the beach, hop out, and make my way back into town. Just then, the engine sputters and dies. When I turn the key and try to restart it, nothing happens. Adrift, the boat becomes a bucking carnival ride. I'm out of gas. Now, so close to the safety of shore? I make my way to the stern and hold on for dear life. When I lift the gas can, it's empty. Boom, bam, crack. The boat rams into a reef. I'm thrown into the freezing cold water. My God, this is cold. My heart thumps like a drum. I've got to get to the surface and catch a breath. As I claw my way up, kicking my legs, the sea sucks the shoes off my feet. Coming to the surface, I gasp, sucking in great gulps of briny air. The water is so cold. 1,000 sharp knives pierce my skin. A wave washes over me and I swallow bitter seawater. Treading water, I tell myself not to panic. Stay calm. I've got to get to shore. It's been almost 10 minutes since I was submerged in the frigid water. I'm at the limit of survival, given 10 to 15 minutes exposure before death. A pebble beach is about 30 yards away. Beyond it looms an unclimbable cliff. I know this isolated place east of town because I brought my kids here to play when they were young. While they ran up and down the beach, I'd look for sea glass polished by the elements. Glancing over to Cedar Island, lights move and bob, maybe from a search party. I keep a sharp watch over the water because if a boat approaches, it might be someone coming to capture me. I've got to get to shore. Freezing cold water stabs my muscles. It's cold. I must get moving or I'll die. I do the crawl stroke, but my sheepskin coat weighs a waterlogged ton and slows my progress. I should shuck it off, but I want to wear it. Albert is here with me in spirit as long as I wear the coat. The heavy jacket drags me down. My mouth slips below the water's surface. Struggling underwater, I pull my arms out of the sleeves. I slough off the coat, letting it go. Kicking to the surface as hard as I can, I come up gasping for air. I check to see where the beach is and set off in that direction, swimming through whitecaps for shore. I'm swallowing water, gagging and coughing, but I'm making progress. I'm not sure how much longer I can hold out. My strokes are weak and my kicks slow to a feeble flutter. This deadly cold is different from anything I've known before. Icicles of pain jab my skin and a million frozen daggers plunge into my chest. I can barely catch a breath. Any minute, hypothermia could usher me to the other side of the channel of death. Gritting my teeth, I make a promise. I'm not dying tonight. There's a light at the top of the cliff. Just a few more strokes and I should get to shore. When I feel stones under my toes, I crawl onto the beach, panting and trembling. Waves crash against my feet as my fingers close around fistfuls of pebbles. I made it. Earth, my friend, I'm back. I'll never leave you again. As grateful as I am to be alive and away from the lodge, I must get up and move before the cold immobilizes me. I'm a human popsicle with ice for innards. My body shakes as I haul my soggy body off the beach, telling myself while I stumble along, keep moving, don't stop. The last time I was here, there were no houses on this knob of land jutting into the water a few miles from town. Look for the light. Someone might help me, someone who I can trust. Look for the light. I trudge ahead on the stony beach, walking with a stiff gait. My teeth are chattering and sharp needles stab my skin. If I don't find a way to get warm, I'll die of hypothermia. Chunks the size of ottomans fell off the cliff and clutter the beach, so I step around slabs of soil. When I pass 2 yellow kayaks turned on their sides lashed to a tree, I nod. Signs of human habitation, a reason for hope. I come to a set of steep wooden steps going up the cliff. It's a long way to the top. With a groan, I lift my right foot and put it on the lowest tread. The wood is cool under my cut-up bare feet, which throb with pain after walking on sharp stones. A splinter drives into my little toe. Tears stream down my cheeks. Taking a deep breath, I lean on the handrail and haul myself up, taking a first step. 47. Dusty. When his cell phone rang, Dusty woke and rubbed his eyes. 1 in the morning meant it was an emergency, maybe about his mother. He cleared his throat and answered. Hello? This is Sheila at Shore Lodge. I'm sorry to report your mother's missing. Dusty sat up in bed. The redhead next to him reached over, touching his bare back. He'd brought her home from the tavern last night, but couldn't think of her name. Everything okay? She whispered. Dusty shook his head and stood, pulse racing. He said into the phone, Your director assured me it was a secure facility. He said she'd be kept inside. How could this happen? Sheila at Shore Lodge said, No one has gotten out before. We have strict policies in place to prevent that. Your mother must be a strong, resourceful woman. His mom was all that and more. As he scratched his head, worry swept over him. He needed for her to stay locked in the facility for his scheme to work. In a low voice, he said, Tell me exactly what happened. I worked the night shift on the 2nd floor. When I did the bed check, your mother wasn't in her room. He shook his head. Trust us, they'd said on the tour. Your mother will be safe and receive the best available care. He bit down on a fingernail to stop himself from screaming at the employee. His mother was a highly intelligent, determined woman. He'd underestimated her. Could she be in the bathroom or somewhere in the building? Did you look? We looked everywhere, Sheila said. We've got a full-on search underway and the fire department's helping. He paced the bedroom floor. How did she get out? Sheila hesitated before answering. Through the window in her room. She unlocked it. His jaw dropped. It was double locked, but his mother was handy with tools. He admired that about her. Now she was missing on a cold night. She could have fallen to her death. Remorse knocked at the back of his mind, but he brushed it away. He wasn't about to change his mind when more money was almost in his hands. "How can that be?" he said. "I heard it was impossible to open those windows, and she was on the second floor. Is she dead on the ground below?" "We don't know where she is, but we're doing our best to locate her. We don't know how she got out. The administrator will be in his office tomorrow. We should know more by then. In the meantime, our greatest concern is for the welfare of your mother. You should also know she started a fire out back in the flower beds. Our volunteer firefighters were able to put it out." He rubbed his jaw. His mom climbing out a window meant she was serious. If she was on her way to Millersville, it'd screw up the careful plans he'd made months before. He'd lined up a buyer for her house 8 weeks ago. "Let me see if I've got this right. We have a vulnerable widow wandering in the dark on an isolated island. She could fall in the water and drown. She could break a leg and be stranded. She could die before you find her. Don't let that happen or you'll regret it." "Sir, we're looking for her, as is everyone on Cedar Island. A text alert went out to residents to join the volunteer firefighter brigade's search party." Dusty rolled his eyes. Great. A bunch of volunteers were bumbling around in the dark looking for his mother. Fat chance they'd find her. He needed to go look. He'd take his boat. Sheila said, "When the ferry starts in the morning, the Millersville police will arrive with the K-9 unit and search for your mother. We'll find her." He scowled. If you'd done your job right, she wouldn't be missing. He forced himself to take a deep breath. Getting angry wouldn't help the situation. "We'll be in touch in the morning. I'm sure she'll turn up." He snorted. "Like hell I'll sit around waiting for a call. I'll go look for her." "Mr. Stone, that isn't necessary. We've got it under control." Dusty hung up and threw on his clothes. He had to find her before she got off the island. He knew how she thought and where she might go. When he found her, he'd take her back to the lodge where she belonged and make sure the staff tightened security. He thought about calling his sister but decided not to. That way, his sister couldn't interfere. If Rose found Mom, she'd help her get home and he couldn't let that happen. "Going out?" the redhead said, sitting up in bed. Dusty frowned. "I am, and I'm sorry, but I need you to hustle out of here. My mom's missing and I need to find her. Thanks for last night." "I'll go with you and help you look for her." He considered the idea. She'd be a second set of eyes on his boat crossing the water at night. "Sure. Do you have anything warm to wear?" She laughed and pointed to her black panties. "Does it look like I do?" He grunted, estimating her to be about 5'7", and dug in his closet. Tossing her a pair of jeans and a wool sweater, he said, "Put these on and let's go. We're going for a boat ride." 48. Jacqueline. As I stomp up the steps with numb feet, the wind slams into me. A tree branch breaks off with a crack. I duck as it flies past. Trees sway and creak with ominous sounds. I'm freezing cold, dripping wet, and can barely lift my leaden feet. Resting against the handrail, I pant from the effort. If I don't make it, they'll find me dead down below. My stomach growls with hunger, and I picture someone in the cabin above lighting a fire. They'll hand me a mug of hot chocolate and wrap me in a wool blanket. I'll call my friend Fred and tell him to start drawing up papers to revoke my power of attorney. I lift my head to look up the stairs. Most of the way there. Come on, let's go. Groan, moan, puff, a yelp of pain. Coming to a dirt path at the top, I sway on my feet. I hope someone's inside. I start to fall backwards but catch myself and push ahead. Stumbling to the cabin where a porch light flickers in the storm, I pound on the door. A tree branch brushes against a window, scritch, scritch. Whoosh! A howling wind blasts past, making my ears ache. "Help!" I say with the little strength I have left, leaning against the door. No one comes. "Help!" I thump on the door. "Help!" When I look in the window to see what's taking them so long, I realize no one's home. They must have left the outside light on like city people do. Coyotes yip, making the hair on my arms stand straight. I imagine Buddy on a urine-stained concrete floor at the animal shelter and put a hand to my chest. I rub my eyes with the heel of my hands. If I die tonight, I won't rescue Buddy from the shelter. Part of me doubts I can make it. I'm far from town. I'm weak, exhausted, and hungry with miles to go before I sign papers to get my life back. I find a large stone with daisies painted on it, just the right size for a door stopper or for breaking in, and lob it at the window in the door. Glass shatters. With my elbow, I bust out the glass and reach inside, throwing the latch open. Going inside, shards of glass crunch under my bare feet, slicing my skin with lightning bolts of pain. I shuffle ahead, but each footstep is agony. I want food, warmth, and a phone to call my friends to pick me up. In the living room is a white leather couch, a green and white geometric-patterned area rug which reminds me of the ivy climbing up the lodge, over a dark floor and a gas fireplace. Leaving bloody footprints on the floorboards, I look for a phone but don't see one. Using a remote, I turn on the fire and hurry away to find clothes and bandages for my feet. In a bedroom, I open the closet of an Eddie Bauer customer with an on-brand t-shirt, flannel shirt, wool sweater, and a pair of men's jeans. My fingers are white with cold as I shuck off wet clothes and put on dry ones. I'm tall, but this man is a giant, so I roll up the pant legs. A full-throttled shiver runs up my spine, and I rub my arms and legs to get the blood moving. Grabbing a pair of wool socks, I shuffle to the bathroom on bloody, throbbing feet. Sorry, Mr. Eddie Bauer loving man, but I'm just trying to survive. I appreciate your invisible help, I truly do. I find a pair of tweezers and pull slivers of glass from the soles of my feet. Then I dab the cuts with rubbing alcohol, wincing with pain. I can't find bandages, so I slip on thick socks and go hunting for shoes. By the back door, a pair of sorrel caribou boots will do, but I leave those where they are for when I go outside. For now, I'll walk around in socks while I search for food and a phone to call for help. When I locate a phone, I could call the police, but I doubt I can trust them. The officers would side with my son and send me back to Shore Lodge unless I managed to revoke my power of attorney first. Looking around the cabin and pulling open drawers, I can't find a shred of paper to write on or a pencil or pen, just a deck of cards. Talk about minimalist living. No doodads or junk in the drawers in this place. My teeth are chattering as I step into the kitchen. There's a white quartz countertop and an island with bar stools, but I don't see a landline phone. The owner must use his cell. On the kitchen wall, I take a key labeled golf cart from a hook and stuff it in my pocket to use later. I'll eat something and warm up by the fire before I go outside and search for a means of transportation. I'm not sure a golf cart will make it into town. There's a jar of dill pickles in the refrigerator. This guy must not eat. Moving around the kitchen, each painful step makes me grimace. I throw open the white cupboard doors. Aha! There's a can of beef stew. I'm hungry, so I open the can with an electric can opener on the counter and grab a spoon, shoveling bites into my mouth. Oh, that's good. Scraping the last bits of the beef gravy from the can, I eye the gas range. Hot liquid will warm my insides. I fill a tea kettle at a white porcelain sink and set it on the stove. I get the feeling the owner isn't here much and doesn't use the stove often. When I turn the knob, click, flames come out. At least something's going right for me tonight. Carrying a mug of hot water to the fireplace, I wrap myself in a wool blanket with black, red, and green stripes that was on the back of the couch. As I sit by the fire drinking hot water, warmth spreads through my body. My hands and feet tingle coming back from the cold. This respite feels like the mini vacation I was promised at the retreat, but without surveillance. Tight muscles in my back relax as I bask in the warmth of the fire. Taking a sip of hot water, I smile, proud I've made it this far. Pretty good for a confused widow, I muse aloud. Take that, kids. You thought I was lost, but I'm on top of my game. Thinking ahead, I need to go to town several miles away. No one lives near here as far as I know, so I can't run to the neighbors for help. The wind shrieks and beats against the cabin. A plastic deck chair outside tips over with a thud and skitters away. The weather's getting worse. My son is probably hunting me, and my window of freedom is about to close. I stand and stretch, intent on finding my friends and completing the next part of my plan. 49, 3 a.m., Jacqueline. Turning from a dirt road onto a 2-lane blacktop, I point the golf cart toward town and stomp on the accelerator. I'm moving along at maximum speed, 25 miles per hour. This isn't the best getaway vehicle, but I had no other options. Steering around a branch on the road, I say to the cart, "Come on, I've got to get there before dawn." I don't want anyone to see me and take me back to the lodge. I wiggle in my seat, trying to get warm. The storm is still blowing, pushing against the golf cart and holding me back. I'm not sure I can pull this off. As I approach town, cold air comes off the water. I pull the wool hat I found in the cabin down over my ears. Outside a thrift store, someone left a stained couch at the curb. That was me when I was at Shore Lodge, worn and discarded, tossed out like trash. Going past Ace Hardware, I eye their hanging geraniums. My store has a better selection. Or rather, what was my store. Given my son's efficient approach to dismantling my life, I bet he sold it to Carolyn already. A weariness sets in, and I can barely hold onto the steering wheel. My eyes close for a moment. I'm so tired. Tired of grieving, tired of fighting for my life, tired of being abandoned by my kids. Bam! The golf cart hits the curb. I wake with a jolt and turn the wheel to get going down the street. Mary and Fred's house is about 8 blocks away. I must stop my son and take back the power to run my life. Although the IGA grocery store is closed, it's lit up while they restock shelves. My son worked there in high school as a stocker until the manager fired him for hanging out in the break room and not doing his job. His next job was in construction. When Dusty started his own company, Albert wanted him to become the best home builder in our area. It was a father and son shared dream. I'd often find them shoulder to shoulder poring over blueprints, talking about flooring and lighting. When Dusty and Albert discussed their dream project, the subdivision, I'd listen intently about dirt work and connecting to the city sewer line and other riveting topics. I found myself getting interested and would ask the occasional question about concrete driveways as opposed to asphalt. Perhaps I might go into construction one day. Coming to Werner's garden store, I study each detail as I move past. Tears wet my cheeks, but I don't have time for a full-out crying jag laced with self-pity. When a car approaches from the other direction, I duck my head down and hunch over. I've got to get to my friends before someone spots me and alerts my son. Wind smacks the golf cart. I grip the steering wheel tight. The wind's working up to a gale-force blow. At the marina, a block away, wind whistles through boat masts, warning anyone foolish enough to be outdoors to go inside. With a shiver, I tell the wind I'm working on it. I'm going to my friends where I'll be welcomed and warm. A block from Mary and Fred's place, the golf cart stops. The electric battery is dead. I climb out and trudge in boots 2 sizes too big, feeling as if my feet are made of stone. Ha ha, I chuckle. My feet are stone feet. That's my last name. Along a residential street, 3-bedroom bungalows are dark. Almost there. 2 houses to go. My body is weak. Each step saps my strength. I stop in front of my friend's green 1-story house with white trim and lean on their white picket fence for support. My knees are trembling and about to give out. Only a few more steps. When I knock on their lemon-yellow front door, no one answers. I push on the doorbell. Ding dong, ding dong. It's impolite to wake them at this time of night, but I'm desperate. It's a life and death matter. A disturbing thought occurs to me. If they're out of town, I have no idea what I'll do. Footsteps shuffle to the door, and Fred says, "Who is it?" Leaning against the door, I'm so exhausted I can barely speak. "I'm glad you're home. It's Jacqueline. I need your help." He opens the door and his eyes grow wide. I've aged 20 years and I'm wearing clothes too big for me. Come in, come in. How did you get here?" He looks around for a car. I step inside and close the door, locking it in case my kids come around. By golf cart, I ran away from Shore Lodge. If my kids find me, they'll put me back in there. I want to revoke my power of attorney before Dusty finds me." He runs a hand through thinning hair. "Of course, I'll help you." When I pull off my hat, he whistles and says, "Wow, they did a number on you, didn't they?" Yes, they did. Mary comes in the living room, bleary-eyed and wearing a navy blue terry cloth bathrobe. Her short, curly, dark hair is mussed. Her broad, open face breaks into a wide smile when she sees me, but then she puts her hands to her face. "Oh no, your hair!" She rushes over and throws her arms around me, hugging me hard. She smells like a lavender in bloom. I sob, safe at last. How I've missed the comfort of my friends. Taking a step back, I wipe my eyes. Mary hands me a tissue and guides me into the kitchen. She pulls out a chair and helps me sit at a round wooden table. "I'll get you a cup of tea. You look like you went through hell to get to us." I did. "Could I trouble you to make a pot of coffee instead? I could use it." Mary says, "That's easy enough. Want a splash of whiskey in it?" I shake my head. "Fred and I have business to do. If my kids call, I'm not here." "We'll let it ring and go to voicemail," Fred says. Mary says, "Don't worry, we'll give you sanctuary." Sometime later, I sign a letter revoking my power of attorney document and set the pen on Mary and Fred's kitchen table. Thank goodness that's done. The first step is complete, but I have much more to do, like delivering the letter to my son. Fred emailed a copy to Dusty, but I want to show up in person with it when he tries to sell my house. Shaking my head, I'm amazed at what happened. My relationship with my children is destroyed. I take a sip of rich, dark black coffee, the smell of coming home. Can you believe what my kids did? I never saw it coming. Fred says, "Don't blame your daughter too much. She's been communicating with me and complaining to the authorities. She's trying to get you released." I set my mug down. "She was? I thought they were in it together." "They were at first, then she changed her mind. She didn't realize what her brother was up to." Nodding, I hope my daughter will apologize. "Do you know if Dusty sold my store?" Mary says, "I believe he did. Your manager was talking about it yesterday when I stopped in." So there goes part of my past. I'm afraid so. When Mary puts a peanut butter sandwich in front of me, I eat it while thinking about my dog. I've got to get Buddy and keep my bungalow. Exhaustion sweeps over me and I yawn. Mary pats my back. "Sleep in our guest room. What time do you want me to wake you up?" I rub my chapped lips. 7. I've got a lot to do. I want to get Buddy out of the animal shelter first thing if he's still there. "I'll drive you around," Mary says. "You're not doing this alone." I barely have the energy to speak. Thanks. I appreciate that. I stand and hold on to the table for support. Every part of my body aches. I couldn't do a push-up now if I tried. 50. Jacqueline. Mary wakes me, bringing me a mug of steaming coffee and her cell phone. My mind is clear despite getting only a few hours sleep. Rubbing my eyes, I drink bitter coffee and review what I must do to save my life. This morning, I'll rescue my dog and take back my house in that order. Before that, I need to call my friend Bernice and ask if she can delay the sale of my home for a short while. All I need is an extra 15 to 20 minutes. When I call Bernice, she picks up on the first ring and says, "Mary?" "It's Jacqueline. I'm using Mary's phone and just got back to town." "Where are you? I couldn't get hold of you." "At Mary and Fred's, but I need your help. My son is going to try to sell my house today, but he has no legal right to do that. I've revoked his power of attorney over my medical and financial decisions. Fred helped me do it early this morning." My voice wavers and I stop to take a breath. Bernice says, "When I called your cell, I got a recording with Dusty that confused me. He said you were unavailable." My grip on the phone tightens. What nerve, plotting to cut me off from people. "They took my phone and a hell of a lot more," I say. "I'll tell you about it later. Would you stall for time and keep my son and the buyers there, but don't give them papers to sign. Make up an excuse until I get there. They're coming in at 11. I'll be there as soon as I can, and I'm bringing Fred for backup. See you then." "You bet." When I hang up, Mary comes in the bedroom. "Did Bernice agree to help?" She did. The plan is coming together. According to their website, the Ark Animal Shelter opens at 11 in the morning. I'm guessing Dusty dropped my dog off there because it's our only local shelter. My son doesn't go out of his way unless it's in his best interests. When I call the shelter, no one answers. Buddy was in that shelter on Barksalot Lane when we first found him. He was petrified and cowering from two big dogs. Before Albert and I could adopt Buddy, we had to sign a document saying we'd be his forever home, so I won't let him down. I'll keep my word. "Let's go to the shelter before it opens," I say to Mary. "I'll pound on the door until someone lets me in. I have to get Buddy back. If he's still there, that is." Mary picks up her car keys. "I'll drive. We'll rescue Buddy, get him out of jail." A wash of relief floods over me. I'm not alone. I have a support team. She says, "You might want to take a quick look at your house on the way to the shelter." "Isn't everything how I left it?" She gives me a cautious look. "We didn't want to tell you, but—" "But what?" "I'm sorry to say this, but the place is empty." When I gasp, she says, "You'll see for yourself. Let's go, it won't take long." Mary parks her white Honda in my driveway and waits with the engine running. I climb out and look around. Someone mowed the lawn and raked the leaves, so that's a good sign. The flower beds are tidy and ready for spring planting. The yellow house's white trim is in good shape, but I haven't been gone that long. It just feels like forever. Out of habit, I dig in my pockets for my house key, but I don't have it. My keys are at the bottom of Cedar Channel in my sheepskin coat. My fingertips are tingling. Lifting up a terracotta flower pot with pink begonias by the front porch, I expect to find a spare key. Nope, nothing there but dirt. The wind blows, kicking leaves down the street. I breathe out a slow breath and peer in my front window. Not a scrap of furniture is left. My legs give out and I slump to the ground. Blowing out a whistle, I can't believe how naive I was. My son removed the support beams of my life one by one. He took away my connections to friends, my store, my home and its furnishings, and my beloved dog. What amazes me most, wonder of wonders, is he isn't ashamed by his behavior, not one bit. Going around the house, I look in the dining room window and my throat tightens. The room is bare except for brown carpet. Like my home, I've changed. I was shocked out of my funk from the channel's frigid water and facing death. Looking in a garage window, my car is there, but I don't have a key. I lost it in the swim to shore. I'll deal with that problem later. My priorities are to rescue my dog and stop my house from selling. Mike, my next-door neighbor, waves. Wearing a flannel shirt and blue jeans with a baseball cap, he crosses the lawn and comes over. "We were worried about you," he says. "Haven't seen you in a while." Standing outside, the wind whistles past my ears, but I don't mind. I'm back in town. I'm fine, and I'll be much better when I get Buddy from the shelter. "Why's Buddy there?" "It's a heck of a story," I say, "and I'll tell you later. I'll be back this afternoon." He glances at my house. "Everything's cleared out, put in a dumpster. What do you sleep on?" I rest a hand on my sour stomach. What kind of beast throws his mother's things in the trash? What happened to my pearl necklace, the ceramic bird-shaped salt and pepper shakers Albert gave me, and my paperwork? But after what I've been through, possessions aren't important. What matters is I battled Shore Lodge and the sea and won. Sleeping on my floor will be absolutely delightful. I'm tough as iron, as Albert used to say. I reflect that it took two parents to create the monsters our kids became. My husband wasn't being mean-spirited when he gave away money. He was trying to help our son. "I'll get a blow-up mattress at the hardware store," I say with a shrug. "You're welcome to stay in our guest bedroom." "That's kind of you to offer, thanks, but I've been looking forward to being home. I want to start turning over my garden." "Your son wanted to plant grass where your garden is," he said, but I talked him out of it. My eyes opened wide at the thought of grass replacing my vegetable patch. "I appreciate your protecting my garden." He looks at my head. Short hair looks good on you. You got more color to your face, like when you used to go boating. I did go boating last night, and it was quite a journey. Hair-raising, to tell you the truth. My son admitted me to a facility called Shore Lodge and took over my financial affairs. Mike crosses his arms. I always thought you were the perfect family next door. With a sigh, I say, not anymore. Our family's foundation came tumbling down, and I'm left with the rubble to build a new life. I hope you get Buddy back. The neighborhood loves him. Do you need help? I don't think so, I say, but I'll let you know if I do. After crossing Cedar Channel at night in a storm and swimming to shore, I can do anything. 51. Rose. When Rose's cell rang in the morning at work, she hoped someone was calling her back about her reporting elder abuse. She glanced at the screen and saw it was her brother. Perhaps he'd had a change of heart and would say he'd released Jacqueline from the facility. Rose answered, Yes? In a shaky voice, Dusty said, Mom's missing. I thought you should know. She doubled over as if someone punched her in the gut. She can't be missing. Well, she got out. How? Through a window. Rose clapped a hand to her mouth. On the second floor? She could have died. When did this happen? They called early this morning to say they were looking for her. An ice-cold headache crept up the back of her head. You should have called me as soon as you heard. She was looking for someone to blame, anyone but herself, and her brother was the nearest target. Everything okay? Her boss said, stopping at Rose's desk. Rose shook her head. This is an emergency, and part of the responsibility rested on her shoulders because she'd been an accomplice. She'd never forgive herself if Jacqueline was dead or injured. I didn't want you worrying, Dusty said, when you can't do anything about it. Clutching the phone, Rose suspected her brother was acting concerned so he could put Mom behind locked doors again and take her money. I'll drive up and take the next ferry to the island. He cleared his throat. You can't. High winds are in effect and the ferry run's canceled. My boat's on Cedar Island. You took your boat over there and didn't call me first? I would have gone with you to look for her. When someone said something in the background on her brother's end, Rose hoped it was the police or the head of the search party providing new information. Rose said, Who's that? Is someone there helping you? I want to talk with them. It's no one, a friend I brought with me to help search. A woman said, Introduce me and let me speak with your sister. He stuttered, sounding like he'd forgotten the woman's name. The woman said, You forgot my name? Great. Now I wish I'd stayed in town. Rose rolled her eyes. Dusty didn't have the best track record with women. Hello, a woman said in an assertive tone. I'm Brittany, and I came to help look for your mom. Nice to meet you. Where exactly did you search for her? In the meadow, by the trees, along the road, and going door to door. Any signs of her? Dusty came back on the line. I'm sorry I didn't call before. We've looked everywhere. Rose tapped her foot. She needed to go to Cedar Island and comb every surface. Her mother was probably huddled under a tree, teeth chattering, and no one was doing anything about it. She said, I'll call her friends to see if they know anything. When her brother spoke, Rose couldn't make out the words. What did you say? Rose said. They found footprints on the island in the woods and going down to a dock. There's a small skiff there, but she didn't take it. I hope to God she didn't fall in. Rose covered her mouth. Unwanted images flashed before her. Her mother could be floating in the water or washed up on the beach. The Millersville police are sending the K-9 unit on the next ferry, her brother said. Early this afternoon is their best estimate. Rose pictured her brother overseeing the search from Shore Lodge, where he was organizing people into groups and poring over a map to pinpoint where her mom might be. Where are you now? Anderson's Cafe. Her jaw dropped. Stuck in Seattle, she was powerless. At the cafe? You should be in the administrator's office breathing down his neck. Go tell the lodge staff I want my mother found. She's got to be alive out there somewhere. Find her. Hold on a minute. He muffled the phone. As she waited, tears streamed down her cheeks. Joan came by and handed her a cup of coffee. Thanks, Rose said. Her mom was in danger wandering on an island. She could die out there. The thought made Rose shudder. She'd been caught up in her life in Seattle and ignored her mother, who she loved more than anyone except for Max. She vowed to be more involved if her mother lived and earn her forgiveness. A moment later, Dusty said, "A guy just came in and said his Boston whaler was stolen, found drifting in the channel." Rose's jaw dropped open. Mom wouldn't take a boat to town, would she? It's too dangerous. What if she fell out or hit a rock? He hesitated. She wanted out of there badly, and she does know how to operate a boat. She taught me all I know about boating, and she learned it from Granddad. Rose chewed on the inside of her mouth. Go find Mom. Call me every hour with updates. I want to know everything. She hung up and called Uncle Fred, hoping her mom's friends knew where she was. When it went to voicemail, she left a message. My mom's missing and we're trying to find her. Have you seen her or heard from her? I hope nothing awful has happened. If you see her, please tell her I love her. She hung up and burst into tears. She had to leave now and drive north to do something, anything to help find her mom. Rose got up and gathered her purse. She went to Joan's office and said, "My mother's missing on Cedar Island. I can't stay in Seattle. I've got to go look for her." "Your mother's missing?" Joan said. "Holy shit. Take the day off and more time if you need. I'll cover for you. Let me know what happens." 52. Jacqueline. Mary parks in the animal shelter's gravel lot, and we hurry to a brown-shingled one-story building. Dogs bark. How Dusty and Rose could put Buddy in a shelter, I'll never understand. How would they like to be locked up and left behind? When I knock on the front door, no one answers. A sign shows they're open from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. I'm hours early, but I pound on the door anyway until a middle-aged woman with her hair in a ponytail comes to the glass side panel and looks out. She frowns. "We're closed. Come back another time." "I need to get my dog back. His name is Buddy. Buddy Stone." She shakes her head. "I got him here 6 years ago. He's here by mistake, and I want him back." The matron of the Ark points to a sign stating the hours and walks away, disappearing around a corner. "Hey!" I pound on the door. "Come back! I need to get my dog!" Mary points to a bunch of kittens. "Aren't those cute?" 4 black kittens hide under a scratching post platform. I probably scared them with my pounding. I take Mary's arm. "We're here for Buddy. Let's go around back." "I understand," she says. "You can't replace a loved one like that." Going along a gravel path, each crunch, crunch, crunching step brings me closer to Buddy, or so I hope. We stop at a chain-link fence with a dog run. Hounds bay and howl. I wish I could take all of them with me as I search for a beagle mix mutt with a white stripe on his head and a curly tail. I coo at a Jack Russell jumping in the air. I swear those Jacks never stop moving. Searching for my dog among black labs and German shepherds, I cup my hands and call, "Buddy, come!" I wish I could whistle with 2 fingers, but I've never mastered that. As my 8-year-old dog squeezes between 2 jostling black labs and races over, I burst into tears. "You poor sweet pup. I'm here to take you home." Mary claps and Buddy barks, putting his front paws on the 6-foot fence. He looks like he's thinking about trying to get out. Beagles are such rascals, digging under or leaping over fences and escaping like Houdini. I've seen Buddy do a doggy pull-up to get over a fence. Not much holds him back when he sets his mind to something he wants. I suppose we're alike in that way. I stick my fingers through the chain-link fence to scratch his chin, and he leans on me. We're going to lean on each other from now on, even more than before. He's the only family I have left. No one, including my husband, was who I thought they were. Taking a deep breath, I tell myself to let it go. I'll create a new life without my kids somehow. "I'm going to get you out of here," I say. "Everything's going to be just fine for us from now on, with extra treats." Buddy wags his tail and gives me his world-class smile. Scratching his chin, I say, "I love you." Those are words I used to say to Albert. I'm coming to terms with his secrets, hiding his cardiologist appointments and giving Dusty money. He had the best intentions, I'm sure, but his view of the world differed from mine, even though I thought they were the same. Looking into Buddy's brown eyes, I say, Aren't you the best? The middle-aged, ponytailed matron of the Ark strides out to the fenced enclosure and points a finger. You there, stop interfering with the dogs. You're getting the dogs excited. You have to leave. I point to Buddy, who's sitting at attention and staring at me with begging brown eyes. This is my dog, and I'm taking him home with me now. She shakes her head. Not until we open, and you might not be the best person for this dog. We're perfectly suited for each other, I say, glancing at her name tag. Gloria, I understand you have clear rules at the Ark and must follow them. I'm also a fan of following strict rules. A little lie won't hurt, and I'll build rapport with this person blocking my access to Buddy. No matter what it takes, I'm going to get my dog back today. This handsome fellow, I say, and I have been through a lot in these last 8 months. We can't bear to be separated from each other for another minute. She crosses her arms. No exceptions. She looks like she's about to leave, so I take a deep breath and say, Look, my husband just passed away. My children took my money, and they locked me up on Cedar Island and put my dog in your shelter. Please. I press my hands together like I'm praying for peace. Open the door for us and let Buddy go home. We won't tell anyone you broke the rules this one time. The Ark matron taps a foot and looks down at my dog, who looks up and smiles at her on cue. I did wonder how this nice, well-mannered dog ended up here. You're lucky no one else has adopted him. I nod. I've been lucky these last 24 hours. I crossed Cedar Channel at night to get back and take him home. She raises her dark eyebrows. In the wind? You were brave. A chill runs up my spine as I recall how close I came to death in the cold water. As she studies Buddy, I use an old negotiating tactic and stay quiet. Buddy's waiting too and looks at her with a brown-eyed eagle hope. Tell you what, she says, I'll let you in by the front door, but don't tell anyone I made this exception. I zip my lips shut. It's our little secret. Thank you so much. Bending down, I say, Best dog in the world, you're going home. Buddy barks and runs laps around the other dogs. He and I will have a lot to celebrate tonight. I'll buy a chew toy and we'll give it to him as a special treat. When Gloria opens the Ark's front door, she looks around like the police are going to burst in on a raid. She hustles us over to the counter. We need to sign the paperwork fast, then you can leave with our favorite dog. I smile. He is special, isn't he? You probably have his paperwork from when we adopted him here 6 years ago. Soon I'm signing papers and promising to never give him away. When Gloria goes to get Buddy, the dogs crank up the volume, yipping and yelping like each one wants to be rescued. I might rescue another pup someday, but right now I only have eyes for my love bug. Here comes Buddy, trotting down the hall on a leash with Gloria like he's a show dog. He keeps his eyes trained on me as if I'm the gateway to a better life. The more treats, the better, he'd say if he could talk. I squat down and open my arms. Come here, you sweetie. He rubs against me and I wrap my arms around him, cooing baby talk into his fur. When I stand, he sits on his haunches and smiles. He's ready to go, and I am too. We're ready to reclaim the rest of our lives. 53. Jacqueline. My body buzzes with excitement as we approach the escrow company where my son is about to sign papers. I drum my fingers on the armrest. Not too long ago, I was sitting in a black sedan while Dr. Henderson drove me back to Shore Lodge. Jiggling my foot, I hope Bernice managed to delay the signing. I check the clock on the dashboard. Can you drive any faster? We're almost there, Mary says. In the back seat, Buddy pants hot breath on my neck. I'm looking forward to stopping my son, I say, but I'm nervous about it. Mary nods as she drives. Anyone would be in your place. Fred will be there, so you won't be on your own. Thanks for your help. Of course, it's a miracle you made it. Smiling, I say, I need a bumper sticker that says, I survived, pour me a beer. She chuckles and pulls into the parking lot, stopping near Bernice's red Yamaha motorcycle. Fred's standing by his car holding a briefcase. He starts when he sees my short hair, like he did last night. Thanks for coming, I say, giving him a hug. I appreciate it. His face looks pinched, as if he's as on edge as I am. The wind is playing with his comb-over. Patting his hair, he tries to keep it in place. Glad to. I let Buddy out of the car and he pees on a rhododendron where blossoms explode like magenta fireworks. A stiff breeze blows back his ears as he stops to sniff. Jacqueline, Fred says, your daughter's been texting and calling me, leaving messages. She's worried. Do I have permission to tell her you're in town? My eyes fill with tears. I'm angry she tricked me into going there. She did urge Dusty to release you, Fred says. She reported him to the authorities. So she changed her mind and fought for me? Good. Please text her after we're done with Dusty and tell her I'm okay. Now, let's go deal with my son. Mary says, I'll take Buddy to our place. Fred will give you a lift home. Thanks, but Buddy and I will stick together. We won't be separated again. As if on cue, Buddy barks at a squirrel and I nod. We're back in town, making our own choices. Bark all you want, I tell him. We made it and we're alive. Inside the office, Bernice's mouth falls open when she sees me. She stands up from her desk and stares at my head, running her fingers through her short gray hair. I put a finger to my lips so she won't talk loudly or squeal with affection like she often does. I want to surprise my son and see the look on his face when I walk in the conference room. A wall clock shows 11 on the dot. In a quiet voice, I say, Thanks for delaying them. Reaching into a desk drawer, she gives Buddy a dog biscuit, which he swallows in seconds. She whispers, I told them I needed a few more minutes to prepare the documents. How are you doing? I squeeze her hand. Great, I'll tell you about it later. Looking at Fred, I say, Ready? He nods. Ready, after you. A chill comes over me. I'm about to confront my son, the source of my undoing. Won't he be surprised when I announce his power is gone? In the conference room, my son sits across from a woman and a man at a gleaming wood table. His cheeks are flushed like he's been out on a boat. He has the skills to cross Cedar Channel in a strong wind. He could have been looking for me on Cedar Island before coming back to town to sell my home. He's holding a black Montblanc pen that I haven't seen before. I bet it was bought with my money. Before I went to Shore Lodge, he was in debt with not much in his checking account. A sharp pain shoots up from my bandage-cut feet, making me wince. I clear my throat to get his attention. Hello there. I kept my promise. I crossed the water, and I'm here to stop you. His eyes grow wide. Where's Bernice? He calls, Bernice, bring in the paperwork. We need to close right now. I give him a scalding look. Shame on you. My house is not for sale. You have no legal authority anymore over my financial affairs or medical decisions. I revoked my power of attorney. Dusty turns pale. Beads of sweat glisten on his forehead. He looks to Fred as if seeking help. Fred says, She's right. But I need the money, my son says. I've got to sell the house today. He scowls at me, but I shrug it off. Any compassion I had for him is gone. A woman wearing a pink V-neck blouse tugs on a silver necklace. We're moving in later today, aren't we, hun? The man next to her picks at a button on his short-sleeved plaid shirt. That's right, we are. All three are squirming in their seats. Guilt is written all over their faces. I grab the house keys off the table and pocket them. Buddy sits looking at Dusty like he's asking a question. You were nice to us and now this? What happened? I sit by my son, giving him a piercing glare. Fred hitches up his pants and sits by Dusty on the other side. I'm ashamed of you, I say. I never thought you'd take my money when I became a widow. After all I've done to raise you, we poured money into your business. My son's ears turn crimson. I have a right to that money. It was going to be mine eventually. My body quivers. I held out hope that he'd apologize, but he's defending himself. It's time to chop the head off this viper of a son. I slap a typed letter on the table. This is a signed document revoking my power of attorney document. I'm going to give copies of this to the bank and my doctor and the hospital and everyone else, making it clear you have no authority over me. You should never have done what you did. Dusty stares at the letter. He turns to me and said, You needed help. Not that kind of help. I turn to the couple who are eager to buy my place. I'm the legal owner of the home, and I'm living there. The woman's hands fly up. But Dusty promised us it would be ours as soon as you moved to the island. I didn't move there. I only intended to stay a few nights. Don't worry, I'll make sure you get your earnest money back. Millersville Escrow will send you a check. The man in the short-sleeved shirt turns to Dusty. I knew it was too good to be true, he says to me. We were counting on owning a beautiful place, so I'm very upset about this, but we don't want your home under these circumstances. It wouldn't be right. Come on, let's go. Getting up, the woman says, Dusty said we'd save on realtor fees and the paperwork would sail through, but I didn't understand what he was doing to you, his own mother? Dusty, I quit. Find another assistant. Dusty throws up his hands. But you have to give notice. The hell I do, she says and storms out with the man. 54. Jacqueline. In the conference room, a vein in my son's forehead pulses. He stares at his expensive pen. Mom, I was helping you. You screwed me over and didn't care. You weren't making good decisions, he said, a flash of anger in his eyes. I put a hand to my head. His selfish attitude is giving me a headache. Have you no compassion for a recent widow? Given how you treated me growing up, I don't. My eyebrows furrow at his long-held resentment. I'm sorry if I didn't give you enough attention. I did my best. He rubs his cheek. Dad was there for me. He came home from work early. You could have, but you didn't want to. My fingers curl. I blow out a breath. Enough. It's time the truth came out. I kept the business afloat so he could be with you. It was a mutual decision made with your interests in mind, but one I've had regrets about. I wish I'd been home more. He crosses his arms. I need the proceeds from your house to fund the housing development Dad wanted. Why don't you take a mortgage on your house and give me the money? That way I can build stone estates. I shake my head at his deluded request. I'll never do that. You can give up asking. Dusty gets up. What about my needs? What about what I want? Sorry, son. This is your new reality. He stalks outside and hops in a red pickup, peeling out of the parking lot, burning rubber. What he said was so ridiculous, I snort with laughter. Fred chuckles and we let out belly laughs. Wiping tears from my eyes, I say, I bet that new red truck was bought with my money. Fred nods. When he stops making payments, the bank will repossess it. His lack of conscience makes my skin crawl. But it's not my fault how he turned out. He's an adult making bad choices. You did a fine job. I was there. You weren't hands off. You showed you cared. From what I gather, part of the blame rests on Albert for making Dusty dependent on you two for money. He never learned to be an adult and pay his own bills. Buddy, my emotional barometer, leans against my leg, so I rub his ears. Letting out a sigh, I say, I don't think I can get my store back. The sale closed yesterday, so you're right. He sold it to your manager. I'm surprised he could arrange it so fast. He had the paperwork ready before you went to Shore Lodge. He was just waiting until you were out of town. My jaw hurts from clamping down and I massage it. The more I think about it, I'd like to try running a new business to get my finances under control. Something different will challenge me. I've been fascinated with home construction over the years, but preoccupied with the store. Maybe I could manage stone construction and build the subdivision. What I'd like to do is take over stone construction, if that's possible. I'd own it and run it. It'd be a fresh start. I'll look into it and let you know. You settle into your house and take care of yourself. You've been through it. I shudder as images of being in the isolation room, climbing down from the second floor and swimming to shore flash past. If it can happen to me, it could happen to anyone. On the way out, I stop at Bernice's desk. You can shred those documents. My house won't be sold today or for years to come. I'll refund the buyer's earnest money. Just tell me how much. When Bernice smiles, her round apple cheeks bulge. Righty-o! Buoyed by her upbeat attitude, I grin. It's been months since I had friends over, and it's time to laugh and water seeds of joy that death left dry. When I'm settled in, I'll invite you over for a drink. We'll sit on the deck. Wouldn't miss it. I want to hear all about how you got out. Outside, as a robin bursts into song, I look around and wonder. Filling my lungs with fresh air, I open my arms wide. Watch out, world. Here I come. I'm stronger than ever. I say to Fred, let's find Mary and I'll distribute that letter around town. When we climb into his car, Buddy jumps in the back seat and settles down. You'll need furniture, Fred said, if you're going to sleep at home tonight. I could sleep on a concrete floor as long as I'm not at Shore Lodge. 55. Jacqueline. Mary drives me around while I deliver the letter revoking my power of attorney to my doctor, the hospital, and the bank, striding out each time with a smile on my face. I buy a new phone, a camp cot, a big container of chocolate almond biscotti, bedding, and beer. Just the bare essentials. A locksmith comes out and replaces the locks on the house so my son can't get in again and ruin my life a second time. When someone knocks on the front door, I look out. Rose is biting her lip, looking nervous. Taking a shaky breath, I gather my wits. I wonder if she loves me. Was she motivated by money like her brother? Fred told me Rose became my advocate, so I'll listen to her and keep an open mind. Opening the door, I say, "Come in." She chews on a fingernail. It's been ages since I've seen her do that. Standing in the entry, her brows knit together. I was so worried about you. I heard you were missing and thought anything could happen with you out there alone in the elements. You could have died of hypothermia. I could have, I say, but I didn't. That's why I left work. I told my boss I had to go look for you. I gesture to the empty house. No chairs left, so let's sit on the back deck. We arrange ourselves on lawn chairs borrowed from my next-door neighbor. We sit upright, stiff, and like we barely know each other. And maybe we don't. This crisis has revealed our inner qualities, surprising others and ourselves. Mom, I didn't understand what you were going through. I was wrapped up in my own life. Being a parent and working full-time is a lot to handle, as you know. She looks to me as if for approval. It is, I say, waiting for more. I'm sorry I didn't pay more attention to you after Dad died. I'm sorry I didn't come see you more often. I wish I'd taken time to talk to you more in depth before Dusty admitted you. Instead, I assumed he was telling the truth. Tears wet my cheeks. But I want you to know, as soon as I began to have suspicions, I made some calls. I tried to talk to Dr. Taft, but couldn't get any information due to privacy laws. I nod, glad no one is giving out my personal health information without my consent. I spoke with Dr. Henderson at Shore Lodge and said I wanted a second opinion, but he said it wasn't necessary, what with Dusty admitting you and his evaluation. A flicker of an unwanted memory flits by of my time in the isolation room. My chest tightens. I force myself to take a slow breath. I'm not strapped down in a closet-sized room. I'm outside and alive. Breathe. She picks at a cuticle. While you were there, I lodged complaints with the state about elder abuse and with the state attorney general and Senator Murray's office. I did everything I could think of to get you released, but Dusty had the law behind him. I appreciate you doing that. So nothing came of your complaints? They're looking into Shore Lodge, but it is a licensed facility and passed inspections in the past, and Dusty had the power to sell your assets. Given that Dr. Taft said you were depressed and Dr. Henderson evaluated you, there wasn't much they could do. Well, it's over now. I revoked my power of attorney and gave it to Fred. Do you happen to know what Dusty did with my money? He took $10,000 from my bank account, but the proceeds from selling the store are another matter. I think it went toward buying land and paying his subcontractors. She sucks in a breath. While you were missing, I went to the police station. I tried to find someone on the island to look for you in a ditch or down by the water where I imagined you'd gone. Bernice and Mary told Dusty to let you out, but he wouldn't listen. Her lips quiver. I'm sorry for my part in this. Will you forgive me? I dab my damp eyes. I'm glad you changed your mind and fought for me. It means a lot, and I appreciate your apology." She sniffles. "And you're right," I say with a slow smile. "A ditch did cause me trouble, but I got to town anyway. I'm so sorry about what happened to you and your store and your house and everything else. I thought we were doing the right thing by having you stay at Shore Lodge. Now I see it was all wrong. My boss said it was a nasty thing to do to a little old lady." "Your boss was right, but I'm not little and I'm not old." Rose reaches over and holds my hand. "I forgive you," I say, "but it'll take time for me to let it go. It was a hellhole for me. I can't blink it away." "I get that. We'll take it slow. And no matter what Dusty says, you were the best mother." Tilting my head, I wonder what Dusty said. I bet he didn't say anything good. "I realize putting work before family wasn't ideal for you," I say. "I hope you didn't feel ignored." She shrugs. "You made sure Dad was there, and I knew you loved me. Don't worry about it. I'm fine. But I need to make sure I don't do the same thing raising Max." I cringe, but she's right. "Dusty isn't picking up when I call, and he's not answering texts," Rose says. "I can't believe my own brother did this to you. It was the ultimate power grab, thinking only of himself. If you see him, tell him I want to talk to him." I don't intend to see him for a long time. 56. 2 weeks later. Jacqueline. On the front porch of my yellow bungalow, I'm ready to welcome my closest friends. Fresh-mowed grass smells like spring, and crimson pansies brighten my neat flower beds. Classical music wafts from inside, but I've got Pandora on shuffle, so the next song might be country western or the blues. I'm wearing a blue denim work shirt, khaki shorts, and felt slippers. During my nighttime scramble to save myself, my feet were cut up, so they're covered with ointment and bound in white gauze. Mary pulls up in her white car and gives me a hug. "I baked a breaking out of jail gift for you." She hands me a loaf of warm, whole wheat bread wrapped in tin foil with a red bow. I didn't put a metal file in it, though. As we chuckle, I wish Albert were here with us to celebrate my return. I miss him in most moments, but I'm making progress with starting a new life. Bernice parks her red motorcycle out front. She's wearing a black leather jacket that I'd love to steal from her closet, and maybe I'll buy a coat like it one day. She hangs her helmet on the handlebars and runs her fingers through her hair before coming up the front path. We embrace, and she says, "You're looking good. For a while there, you were pale and curled up into yourself like a snail." I nod, glad I'm looking better. "Surviving near death will do that to you. I won't be swimming in Cedar Channel at night again, so you can drop those plans right now." As we laugh, Bernice says, "I want to hear all about how you got out." My friends are my protectors, my watchdogs in the night. How wonderful to be in their presence on a peaceful evening. I'll tell you my tale over a beer. After that, it's a nightmare best forgotten. "What you must have gone through," Bernice says. My dog runs over to Bernice and sits, giving her a happy bark. He likes her. She's a dog person and he senses it. She bends to massage his ears before he runs to the backyard. Ah, freedom. We're both savoring it. Freed from the lodge, I'm an eagle soaring on air currents. I say, "Let's sit on the back deck. My neighbor lent me his patio chairs." Just then, my son drives up in his old white Dodge pickup. Dusty is the gift that keeps on giving, popping up like this. I haven't seen him since the escrow office, and I have no idea what he's been doing while I've been putting my life back together, buying furniture and kitchen items and sorting out my bank accounts. "Katie, bar the door," I say. "Watch out, this may get ugly." Mary whispers to Bernice. "Katie, bar the door? What's that mean?" "Fight's about to break out," Bernice says under her breath. My son climbs out, slams the truck door, and says, "Mom." "Dusty?" I cock my head. "Where's your new red truck?" He scuffs a foot. "Got totaled in a wreck. May I come in?" Opening the screen door, I say, For a few minutes so you can apologize. It's a wonder I'm inviting you in at all. He's always been slow to admit when he's at fault. My scalp itches, but I resist the urge to scratch. Yesterday I met with a dermatologist who resembled a hairy, broad-chested bear. He gave me a special dandruff shampoo. Mary says, "Do you want us to leave so you can talk alone?" "No," I say. "I'd like witnesses for this discussion in case any of it comes up in court." He stops to survey the living room. "Do you like what I did to the place? I gave you a blank canvas to work from." My muscles tense. Although this man is my blood, he's a stranger with a savage side. What an absurd thing to say. You trashed my house and threw out my things. Not only that, you sold the store when you knew I wanted to keep it. Then you tried to sell my house. Worst of all, you left poor Buddy at the shelter. Bernice and Mary hover in the doorway. He leans against a wall, a towering giant who should know better. In a low voice, I say, "What did you do with the money from selling my store?" "Spent it on your care." "I doubt Shore Lodge cost as much as that. I bet you plowed it into your business." He scratches his chin. "Might be. You were lost without Dad." "We were all lost without your father. He was the rudder, steering us in the right direction." "You were fine living at the lodge. You should still be there." My mouth drops open in astonishment. "I need to hear you're sorry. You locked me away and took my money. What you did was reprehensible." Standing with his feet apart, he folds his arms. "Remember when Dad had a heart attack? You had a nervous breakdown. I was worried about you. You were acting crazy." Buddy presses a cold nose against my hand. This isn't the Dusty we knew. My son even smells different. He's wearing men's cologne. I was crazy with shock and grief. Don't you have any compassion? He doesn't meet my eyes and studies the carpet. Like a light coming on, I realize nothing I say will change his attitude. He's comfortable with his unconscionable behavior. "You've lost your moral compass. I'm taking you out of my will. You won't get a dime." His fists clench. He takes a moment to wipe his hands over his face. "I deserved that money. I stepped in after Dad died." My heart hammers. He'll never be satisfied. He'll want more and more until I'm dead. Empathy at 0, ego at 100. There's no arguing with someone who's self-absorbed. Shaking a finger at me, he says, "I won't apologize for doing the right thing." I take a deep breath. I've talked to Fred, and I'm looking into taking over stone construction. His face turns red. "I invested your money in my company. It'll pay off in 5 years. Please don't take my company from me." My hands tremble. I was a fool to hope he'd apologize. "Do you have any idea what you did to me?" He scuffs the toe of his boot on my carpet. "My business is all I have. It's who I am." "And my store was who I was, but you sold it. Fred tells me you have liens and outstanding debts. Your creditors are interested in talking with me." "Will you at least hire me as foreman?" Shaking my head, I say, "You're on your own for work." When he stomps to the door, my friends move aside. He says, "You're an easy mark for anyone after your money, even these two." He puts his hand on the door jamb and gives me a sour look. I open the screen door, gesturing for him to leave. I've known these two long enough to know I can trust them. I'm not a bank to rob. Don't come back unless I invite you. He stops on the lawn to light a cigarette. Blowing out smoke, he says, "You're soft, like dough." I shrug. His barbs don't hurt because I see him for who he is, a greedy man who took money from a widow. His true motives for helping with paperwork after his dad died have been exposed. I'm tougher and stronger than I've ever been before. "You need me," he says. "I'm fine and always was." "But you're all alone." Gesturing to my friends on the porch, I say, "Love comes in many forms. I'm surrounded by a garden of good friends." Bernice and Mary nod. Sounds like bullshit to me. At least give me a job. I raise an eyebrow. He doesn't understand how much he hurt me. Go on, get out of here. The well of Mother Stone has run dry. You'll have to look elsewhere. I'll change my ways, he says. I doubt that's possible, so I'll pass up the opportunity to work with you. He climbs into his truck. The engine spews out diesel fumes as he leans out the open window. I still say I did the right thing. Believe me, you didn't. Not anywhere close. He drives off in a cloud of exhaust, making me cough. I turn to my friends. I apologize. That was ugly. You handled it well, Bernice says. Mary says, I've known him since he was born. It's hard to believe what he did to you. She takes my arm, walking me through the house and out the open sliding glass doors to the deck. Sit here. I'll get you a beer. I relax on a canvas folding chair while my friends serve me. Buddy barks at crows while they dive bomb him and swoop away, squawking as he gives chase. Orange azaleas, purple lilacs, and yellow daffodils crowd the backyard. I'm looking forward to planting spinach, carrots, and Swiss chard in my garden. My friends and I find humor in small stories about a woodpecker waking a neighbor by pecking on a gutter, or the time I found a newborn fawn hidden in the ferns. As we chuckle, I realize how good it feels to laugh. When I tell the story of how I climbed out of Shore Lodge, swam to shore, and made it to town in a golf cart, my pulse quickens. I'm making amends to the owner of the boat I stole, as well as the cabin and golf cart owner. They were kind after hearing my story. Fred told me Shore Lodge is investigating how I escaped from their secure facility. They improved security to prevent future incidents. No one was injured in the fire I set as a distraction. I raise a bottle of beer and a toast. To freedom! To freedom, Mary and Bernice say. I grin. We are queens in charge of our destinies. Raising our beers, we say in unison, we are queens in charge of our destinies. A little later, Mary says, By the way, Jacqueline, I got a postcard in the mail from your son while you were at Shore Lodge. It said Jacqueline Stone's new address is 1230 Dungeness Lane. My eyebrows go up. He sure moved fast, didn't he? That's Shore Lodge's address. He must have had it ready to go before I even went there. A soft breeze blows past and Mary takes off her sweater. Bernice unzips her jacket, leaning back. After my night swim, my blood runs ice cold and warm air is just what I need. I'll never take luxuries like sitting outside for granted again. As a sweet smell of lilacs blows past, I kick off my slippers. Wooden deck boards warm my bandaged feet. I let out a sigh, content to be home and safe with my dog and my friends. Looking into the future, when the homes in Stone Estates are completed and sold, I may sell the construction business and head south in the winter. But no matter where I may travel in the coming years, my yellow bungalow will be waiting for me. Fresh air, my dog, and a place to call home are all I need for my sanity. This has been Shore Lodge, a high-stakes psychological thriller, the Millersville series. Written by Susan Specht Oram, narrated by Robin McAlpine. Copyright 2022 by Susan Specht Oram. Production copyright by Susan Specht Oram.